Hello and welcome to episode 151 of Gamers of Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Chesson, and joining me this week, it's the other Spark on the pod. He's the Spark Star Wars superfan, a man who really knows his moisture farmers from his Nerf herders. It's Mr. James Thomas.
What are you talking about?
For some reason, I was cooking a chili this evening, and it just tickled me so much. And Nicola was like, "What are you chuckling at?" I was like, "I've got a great intro for James."
Yes, the biggest Star Wars fan.
Yes,
in this room. Yeah,
in the room that you're in right now, you are the biggest Star Wars fan.
I'm sure I've told you before, and but. For Christmas, my family just keep getting me the odd Star Wars things, and I don't know if Jodie listens to the pod, but I know Matt does. But so yeah, this year I got a Star Wars trivia game and the Star Wars socks, and I don't mind the socks because hey, it's nerdetry, that's fine. But the Star Wars trivia game, just I showed it to Ali, and she had to she made one of those faces in polite family company. Was like, that's nice.
We'll play that tomorrow. We'll play that tomorrow. We'll play that.
So yes.
Have you been through it? Because you could pick up some really good tidbits.
Some tidbits.
And then you could drop them into the WhatsApp group. You'd be like, "Did you know that Admiral Ozzel, his favourite pie is rhubarb?"
Just go proper undercover. It's like I have become one of them.
Yeah, they were like, "What's happened to James?" So, James, haven't had you on for a while. How have you been? So, what have you been up to?
I've been good. Work and a few other things have been keeping me away. It has been busy at Twycross Central. But it's been good. It's been good. Things have been progressing towards the anniversary patch, and that is imminent. But in more recent times, been away on holiday last week. Had a nice week in Cyprus. It was away with Ali's family as well. So went away with her parents, her brother, our sister-in-law, and most importantly, our little nephew, who's 2.5. And we get to see him every now and again, once every 1 or 2 months. So it was really good just to actually spend a whole week with a little man. And he's got quite the personality now. I think for a while he was, as they learn words and a few sentences, that you can see them bubbling around. But yeah, suddenly over the last few months, it's really burst out, and just everything is about robots and frogs and magic spells, and he just keeps going. Honestly, you just wind him up. And you just let him go, and he will babble and run and talk to you for literally hours on end. It is very impressive.
Wow. So he's just like Steve then, really.
It was really cute, actually. Probably the first or second night we were there, we went for a restaurant to get some food, and Ali's dad had I think it was just a gin and tonic, and it had a little stirry stick in it, little plastic stirry sticks. And I think one of us said, "Oh, it looks like a bit like a magic wand, because it's a plastic stick and then some shapes at the top." And that was it. That was his favourite toy for the entire week there, just running around shouting, "Spell! Spell!" So it was like turning us all into various things. So.
Oh, that's just so cool. And it's really good, isn't it, to kind of spend a long time as well. I think we've been away a couple of times with my nephews, and it's just really nice to have that long period of time, because when you just see them for a weekend or a day, you're trying to cram so much in, like catching up and things like that. So it's really nice just to kind of have that extra long time. So was he were you by a pool? Was the weather kind of nice enough to kind of jump in the pool? Did you kind of take him into the water, or?
It was a bit of a mix. So I did my ankle in just before. Oh yeah, sidebar. I did my ankle in just before we went away.
And how did you do that, James? How did you do that?
Footballing injury, and the most important thing is I stopped the goal. That's what we need to remember here. But collapsed in pain, ankle twice the size. Went to A&E and ended up on off my feet and on crutches for a few days. And the whole time while I was in A&E, I was going, "Oh, please don't be broken. Please don't be broken." Because Ali's brother, 2 weeks prior, had fallen off a ladder and broken his ankle. So thankfully it wasn't as bad as that. But there we were, 2 Muppets strapped into wheelchairs being shuffled through Birmingham Airport on the Sunday morning trying to get to the plane. We looked like a right full... It's like, were you two fighting? What happened? So the silver lining is we got fast-tracked through security, and we got swept onto the plane first. So there were some silver linings to it all. But it also meant that it was a great excuse that if he was running us ragged round the pool, I could just go, "Oh, Ellis, Ellis, I just need to sit down for a bit. I can't chase you anymore for the moment, or just go to a quite slow pace. So sitting around the pool, mainly just trying to recuperate the leg on the sun loungers. Yep. But it was a good low 20s, warm but not too warm. And he just kept entertaining himself, like bit in the pool, bit in the playground, bit running around. So. Very, very easy to look after.
That sounds so much fun. That just sounds so much fun. Superb. So, did you manage to play much while you were recuperating, sitting in the sun? Did you manage to play many games?
I did. Do you want to dive straight in? How's your week?
I think I wasn't sure if I should get onto it because I think for mine the biggest thing for me is Star Wars.
Okay,
this weekend.
When I went away,
so this weekend we'll get to the games in a moment. But this weekend we had Star Wars Celebration, and Stuart and I did threaten to go, and it sounded like it was an amazing Star Wars Celebration. From what we saw, there was a lot of coverage online. I was watching some of the little daily shows with I think it was a chap called Anthony Carboni, kind of in the doing the little kind of daily roundups and live from Star Wars Celebration. But the biggest thing was the episode 9 trailer, so I watched the episode 9 panel, and the problem was I think it was like 4:00 on Friday or 5:00 on Friday, so that's the time I was coming home, so I basically just ignored my phone, just like kind of put it in my jacket pocket and just ignored my phone. I was scared of my phone. I got home, had dinner, and then I sat down and watched this episode 9 panel.
Were you as afraid of spoilers for the trailer as you are for, say, spoilers for Endgame that's coming? Like, because I know when there's something big, something huge like the next Star Wars for you, that the trailer, that first hit, must be as exciting as the film itself, because you get the taster. You get to see what the movie's starting to start to taste like. So did you just go in blind, try to avoid all?
100%. I mean, it was kind of one of those things where I didn't want to look on my news feeds or Twitter because I didn't want people like screen grabbing a part of it or trying to watch it on the train, but the network is so bad that they'll only get half of it. It was all of that. Plus, I also wanted that hour hype where they were talking to all of the new characters and talking to the characters and bringing in Lando, and talking to them and just seeing JJ and Catherine Kennedy kind of just chatting. I wanted all of that build up that led into the episode 9 trailer as well. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I just sat there when they said, right, and then we're going to run a trailer, that was a big moment. Nicola knew because she kind of put down her iPad. She was, because I think she really loved Force Awakens. So Nicola, someone who has just tolerated Star Wars really for all those years, enjoyed Rogue One, but really liked Force Awakens. I could just after the pod go, do you fancy watching Force Awakens? And Nicola would happily go, yeah, let's put it on. So it's just the second Star Wars, The Last Jedi, angers her somewhat because
so why? Because I've heard different people get angry over it for different reasons.
There's so many reasons, and it's really funny because along with Batman vs Superman and The Last Jedi, it's one of those movies that I'll put on and sit and watch, and then she just can't help it. It just can't help. There's so many, the whole kind of Rey, her parentage, the fact that the movie just has some really dumb parts in it. That most of the movie is a big ship chasing a little ship that could be over very easily if they just put their foot down for a bit. And,
Put the Benny Hill music on in the background, we'll get this over with.
Exactly. You could fast forward Last Jedi to that music, and I bet it would fit perfectly. The whole casino scene feeling very much like the prequels. There is multi-layers to that. The fact that they had Emperor Snark or Snoke or whatever his name is, and they just got rid of him. Spoiler alert! They just killed him straight off. There was all of these things. The trying to be funny with Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker. The milk from that animals. All of these things
it just
slowly
gets Nicola.
Built up.
Like
Absolutely,
so
she just
things.
gets.
I mean, from my outside, I've never disliked the Star Wars stuff. So don't get me wrong. Like any of my bravado is more like I'm just not in it. And I think we all know. It's a bit of a bit I play to wind you guys up. But I've never disliked them. But that movie, there's. For me, it just felt like there was whole plot threads that just didn't need to be there, and that's what the whole casino jape That almost angered me by the end of it. By the time there were like sci-fi horses running through like Las Vegas, it's like, what have we signed up for?
Yes.
But you didn't you feel like this trailer has then righted itself? You feel like it's tried to get itself back on the same level?
Absolutely. Right from that opening scene, right from the opening scene of the trailer where you just see Rey just standing in a desert, it automatically felt like Force Awakens. It felt like the middle bit didn't happen. JJ's back in charge, and it just felt like this was the sequel to Force Awakens. Straight from that opening moment, you just thought, it had the emotion, it had the build up, it had everything just swirling at that point. And then the fact that you get that TIE fighter, and then JJ's amazing camera work as well, when you just see it kind of almost chasing in front of a TIE fighter, and then the TIE fighter catches up. That alone just had me at that point. I was on the very edge of my seat, just cupping my face. I was just like, and then the rest I was wearing. It's quite funny because I got home, got out of my kind of like my jacket and my shirt and everything, and I put on my Lando t-shirt, just put that, and then Lando appears in the trailer, and I'm just like, yes. At that point, I was just whooping and hollering, and I'm glad they put it on twice, because I think I just didn't hear the end. I heard the laughter at the end because I was in stunned silence at the title, but I was kind of animated at that point.
Yeah, what's the actual title?
It's The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Or as I did over the weekend, I kept putting The Rise of the Skywalker, which again angered Nicola. She was like, there's no the! It's just The Rise of Skywalker. I was like, The Rise of the Skywalker. She was like, why? Who is the Skywalker? So it's The Rise of Skywalker, which just seems, it just seems a fantastic title.
Yeah. I will go along to watch it.
Yes.
And I can say that's where my excitement current level is. So.
Yeah. So we had that. We also had some games, which I'll get to a bit in the news. But there was also the Mandalorian panel as well, kind of over the weekend. And that is the TV show that's going to be coming to Disney Plus, which is Disney's kind of Netflix. And the Mandalorian is basically, Mandalorians were Boba Fett. So the armor that Boba Fett wears is a Mandalorian armor. And so they had the panel of that. Similar to Comic-Con, they stopped the panel just as the trailer was about to begin. So they had something that basically it just stayed at Star Wars Celebration. So, what happens in Star Wars Celebration, just stays in Star Wars Celebration. And
they literally cut the feed.
The feed was cut, and then later they showed the Mandalorian trailer. So luckily, with everyone having a smartphone now, some cheeky people cheeky people took screen grabs and filmed it. So you can I have actually seen that trailer, which had me equally as excited. And I was wondering if over the next couple of days, because it is out there on YouTube, if they would kind of just release a proper version of it, because at the moment it is just wobbly cam footage.
So I take it this is Disney already have your money for the subscription service then?
Well, it's not coming to the UK yet. So it comes out in the US. It comes out in the US in November.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's about $7.99 for everything that's under an R rating. So everything that's under a 15. So Deadpool won't appear on it, but everything else will.
Oh, so it's not that you have to pay more for the R-rated stuff. It's that it's just a flat out. This is a teen market and below.
Yeah, this is. We're going to show you all the Marvel stuff,
wow,
which ends up always being PG. But we're not going to put in the R-rated stuff. So, which means that if they do resurrect the likes of Daredevil and all those Marvel shows, that they're either going to tone them down a heck of a lot, or they'll just make them and then sell them to Hulu or Netflix or something.
Wow, that seems like a weird. Well, I guess it's a weird decision in some ways, because I know how well the Daredevil and what have you series went down on Netflix, so they had some big hype around them. But I guess it must just be to make their ratings and parent options easier. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you still won't want 3-year-olds trying to turn on to some of the more brutal end of the Marvel series, because fights are still fights at some point in time. But yeah, I guess it must sit better with some censors or some shareholders?
Must be. It must be. I mean, it's Sky do this where you can actually set a setting where that is basically you set a age limit. So anything that's over an R or a 12, then you have to enter a PIN number. Enter a 4-digit code. So I don't know why they could have done something like that, but it's not coming out in the UK. So they've basically said it's coming out in the US in November, along with Mandalorian, and then it will be coming to other markets, UK, Canada, and other markets later, and that's all they've said. So whether they're trying to be uber cautious and not have the service go down on day one, but surely in this day and age, if that starts happening, you just throw some more resource at it and just stoke up the Azure platform and just put some more servers on it.
So jam in a few more pen drives so they can stream from them, and away we go.
Exactly. Who's got one of those Disney USBs? We need that. So I'm surprised that we're not getting it day in, day one. But that happens with Apple. It happens sometimes with Microsoft. It happens sometimes with Disney, that we don't get these things, that they kind of they focus on the US first, make sure everything is fine, and then maybe roll out to other territories.
A lot of the other ones almost seem to be due to hardware limitations, though. I know during the Xbox One launch, it tried to be staggered by a few weeks just to give the production line enough chance to try and cope with the different territories from around the world. But when it comes to digital, you almost think that's because what is it the apps always do? They always soft launch in New Zealand, don't they?
Yes.
And then try and roll out from that point around the world.
They haven't said how long the gap will be, or whether something like Mandalorian, because it would be a shame if Mandalorian is out in the US and it's not available anywhere else. So whether they will just put it on Netflix for other territories for now, or some other subscription service like Amazon Prime or something.
I think they're going to keep the cards close to their chest, because otherwise you'll see the American ones also want it on Netflix and Prime, and so they'll lose their advantage. So I think you've got to wait this one out.
Oh, it's right. I'm sure there's other means. There's other. I was because there's a network that Nicola and I like, and I was even looking at like VPNs and things like that, because there's a TV network that we like in the US, and even when from the UK you try to go to their website, it actually just says this website is not available in your territory. I was like, but we're global internet, not even be able to just look on this website. It actually says, it is not available. So it's just, so that was annoying us. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm sure we're going to get more information at, Comic-Con later on in the year. So there'll be more kind of Star Wars information. But for me, I'd like to say that I'm strong, and that's the only trailer I'll watch between now and December, but I'm sure I'll watch the other trailer that comes out nearer the time that maybe shows a bit more of a story. But
you vary on the trailers, though, because I know in the WhatsApp about was it the Avengers one that you've only watched certain ones of, and you're trying to resist others, and I always try and just, if I'm really interested in a film, if Jurassic Park, I always try and watch the first one to get myself hyped, and then avoid all the others, because you think the more trailers they do, the more extra footage they're going to try in and make them different. And there's always that sneaking suspicion, like, if this film is no good, am I actually going to see the whole film already in the trailer itself? Because I'm sure I've seen a couple of films like that going like, no, the best bit was about 90 seconds long, and you showed it me before the last film I saw. Yeah,
well, exactly. I mean, Suicide Squad's always one that I talk about with that, is that trailer, whoever cut that trailer is almost like a beat for beat of that movie. So if you watch the last trailer for like Suicide Squad, the last big one, and I remember watching it, and then when you're sitting in the movie, you're like, well, they haven't done this bit. And my brain was just almost filling in the blanks, going, oh, well, they haven't done this bit yet. They haven't. And I knew what was coming from the trailer. I mean, the other day, Nicola and I were watching the trailer for Secret Life of Pets 2, because we liked the original. And I stopped it kind of halfway through, because it was too lengthy. The trailer was it was almost like spoiling all the fun gags that would kind of be in the movie. So I just stopped it, and then Nicola looked at me, and I was like, I think they're just showing us too much. It's just like, because they have my money.
Secret Life of Pets.
Exactly, the continuity, the world that they're bringing, the backstory of that dog. It's just, but they're just showing you too much. And I'm with you. I do like the teaser trailer, sets the tone, and then sometimes I like that first story trailer, and that's the one that I watched with the Avengers Endgame. But there's been another lengthy one but I haven't seen anything. And right now, I'm scared of my phone again, and I'm always just flashing past anything. I saw something where like 5 minutes of Endgame leaked, and I was like, no, I have this ability to not even focus on their thumbnails that maybe they're putting in the news feeds. And I'm just like, no.
And I found this gets worse with the out of sync timelines that you get. Because, Twitter now does here's the top tweets due to some algorithm decided somewhere in a lab, and then actual, chronological, normal, human, sensible timelines.
Yes.
Occasionally I flick to the out of order one, because occasionally, puts highlights of Spurs or something at the top of the feed for me, so have a look there. And I made the mistake of doing it the morning after WrestleMania. And dear Lord, it's obviously because my brother, I look at his feed a lot, and so it goes, oh, hello, welcome, you want to see what Matt's talking about? And so the entirety of WrestleMania was spoiled for me by Twitter's algorithm as it just dumped Matt's commentary in like my plain eyesight. I mean, this is my own fault. This is 100% my own fault. But when it comes to things like Avengers and sporting events, I just think these algorithmic displays are evil. Because again, like Game of Thrones stuff that's been coming this week, I thankfully got through the first episode, no spoilers. The odd out of context picture that now I know the context for. There wasn't any spoilers, but like, why on earth is someone posting? Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Why is Bran staring at me?
Yes. Why is everyone talking about? No, just in case. But yeah, it's just a mindfuck. So poor you. So are you watching Game of Thrones as well?
Yes.
So between Game of Thrones, Endgame, and Star Wars, we're not going to see you on the internet for weeks.
No, I am just. I think I think on Tuesday. I think that's it. I think I'll go dark on Tuesday. I'll probably collect all the news I need for the pod on Tuesday,
Go
and then
and
at that point. Yeah, exactly. I just will not be using my phone, because there's too many people I follow, and especially in the news feeds. I look at a thing called Feedly, which kind of just brings in lots of RSS feeds from like Bleeding Cool, Superhero Hype, as well as gaming websites, and using Feedly. People like Bleeding Cool and Superhero Hype are always, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get traffic. They're trying to attract people, but they are the worst for showing you, like when Spider-Man was in the Civil War trailer, they had a big thing going, spoiler, surprise in the trailer, but the thumbnail was Spider-Man with Captain America's shield. And you're just like, it just defeats the purpose. And I was just like, and I was so deflated knowing that before going in. So, and there's a guy at work, and I think I've mentioned it on the pod before, a chap at work, Paul, who's in my development team, and he doesn't watch trailers at all.
Yeah.
So he didn't even know that Hulk was in Thor Ragnarok. And most times I envy Paul. I want to be more like Paul. I just was like, I would love to go into Ragnarok.
Surprise of knowing nothing.
Yeah. Yes. I think when he goes to the cinema, because he goes to the cinema as much as I do, he kind of sits there with me. He's like, takes headphones and just ignores the trailers and closes his eyes, and it's just like, well, I would just love to do that. But yeah, I'm just worried about Endgame, because, those sites I follow, Kevin Smith, there's lots of people that that will just happily spoil it. We're taking Thursday off, so I can then go into work on Friday and not worry about anyone spoiling anything, or any newspaper trying to spoil it as well.
Yeah, you'll be safe from us. Safe from us, I'm sure. So.
Exactly. I mean, there was a letter that went out similar to Infinity War. The Russo brothers sent out a letter last night, basically just asking people to respect the movie, respect the spoilers, and trying to hold back for a couple of weeks and let people just enjoy the thing that they have created. And I just thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah, I think that's especially as they have, it's 10 years building to this point, isn't it? So just chill out, give everyone a couple of weeks to to sort it. Although I say a couple of weeks, I'll probably wait till Christmas and it comes on Sky. But
yeah, and as I was saying last week, when you are, just when you are coming out of the movie, just be aware that there could be people going into the movie as well, and that's kind of a big thing. It's always like, just be nice to each other. It's just like, I feel like I'm Jerry Springer right now, but just kind of, you're gonna be excited. You're gonna be kind of full of wanting to talk about it with your friend, your loved ones, your spouse, your family, but just try to be aware that
opportunity for trolling.
Oh my God, that would just be so cool. You just come out and go, I can't believe Wolverine saved the day. Just come out going, snit, 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 and doing Wolverine actions, and people will be just bamboozled.
Yeah. I mean, I know Disney own all of these, but did they really have to do Kingdom Hearts at the end of that? That was...
I didn't expect Elsa from Frozen to appear. That musical number at the end was just amazing. You imagine Thanos at the end, it just be, so I'm just like, respect everyone that's around you and just enjoy it. I can't wait. I cannot wait. But let's jump into some games. Let's jump into James. James, you've got an awesome list that I just want to talk about. So let's kick off with you.
I think I need to actually put one right at the top there for the reasons.
Oh, I want to talk to you about that. So yes.
I've been on a bit of a blitz recently, and it's all thanks to Division 2,
right?
In some respects, and so I've listened to the last few weeks of you guys, and I know you like Division 2, and I'm disappointed to say I've just bounced straight off it. And objectively, I can see that it's a good game. I can see it's structured well. I can see, I love some of the level designs. Just like, I'm sure the small section that Manny, Matt, and I played, I just go, I'm flanking, because it's just like, ever since Halo, I've loved sandboxes of combat that you can just go round, not through, just round. And so it gives you so many more possibilities when you want to try and play co-op, when you want to try and together. But there was I've got this evil part of me that just goes, I can see the entire game loop unfolding before me, and I've just saved myself 40 hours. And the cynical part of me goes like, nope, seen that, done that. Yeah. Thank you very much. Goodbye. So I just bounced off it within about 4 hours because I really liked the first Division, and having said that, I just think I've seen this all before. I think they've made another one of those, and I'm sure it's like a lot of the polish that they've done is iterative, but it's not so like evolving it. So my mind's eye going like, this seems like it's the same game. This seems like it's exactly the same structure, just in a different city. So I'm stepping. It's. I mean, the bullet sponges, they annoyed me. Like the distinct lack of story. Like honestly to God, like just...
your face right now is hilarious.
And I think that like there were two things that could have really hooked me in there. Like if they had a really good story, but it was just like when the first mission is, please save my daughter's gone. It's just like there was no imagination, and like if this is your showcase mission to go out and get people engaged, it's like this is not the fireworks you want to start with this. And so it was, I had an okay time with Matt and folks, but I just looked and going, this is definitely not something I'm going to play single player, and so I bounced off. And I just had I had a look at myself, going like, I'm not in the mood for a AAA game space at the moment, and I think I actually haven't been for a while. This is why I didn't pick up Red Dead Redemption. This is why I didn't really pick up Spider-Man last year. This is why I haven't picked up many of the shooters of recent times. Like even God of War. God of War is probably the last, big game that I properly played, and it had elements that I really enjoyed, but there's just something I'm missing. And so I went searching for different things on the Switch. I think what I was really craving was something that was interesting mechanically, that I didn't feel was just a new, better polished version of something before. And thankfully, the Switch has actually really happily delivered. Baba Is You. I've seen videos. I had a look at, because obviously when you go to the Nintendo eShop, they have a little video, as well as like screenshots. They have a little video, and I was trying to get Nicola to play this because it just looks like it will just tangle your brain up, and it looks awesome. Oh, It is, and it's one of the worst things I've ever had to try and describe.
Yes.
So I'm glad at least you in this conversation has a grounding in this. So, listener, it's a puzzle game. It's like a top-down, imagine like the old 2D Zelda, where you've basically got one room, the screen doesn't scroll, you just got locked on one room, and you can push blocks around, like in Zelda, I guess. But the blocks themselves are either objects or words. And within the space of the world, these blocks can make up grammatical, logical structures. So there's literally a block that says Baba, there's literally a block that says is, and there's literally a block that says you. Baba is you, and that is one of the rules within the game. If you nudge you out the way, you stop controlling it. You stop controlling Baba, because Baba is no longer you. But if you swap Baba with, like, key, then the key is you, then you start moving the key around.
Genius.
And it slowly builds up this really interesting grammatical puzzle language where you can go flag is win. So if Baba, which is you, touches the flag, then you win. And it's a really nice, simple, slow start. And it just keeps on adding and adding, like wall is stop, river is death, word is float. And so just keeps layering up these rules over and over again. And to begin with, you can probably plow through the first dozen levels or so, relatively quickly as you start getting to grips with it. But it then just amps it up. And I think it all depends on how your brain is wired. Because I've been speaking to people and they've like solved really hard late levels in seconds. And but then I've stared at something for half an hour and it hasn't clicked. And then I turn it on the next time, and within 10 seconds I go, oh, I see what I did wrong. It is so unique, and I love it and hate it so much in equal measure, because it is so ingenious, and it is such a wonderful way to do a puzzle. But dear Lord, you can just waste your life staring at the screen, waiting for inspiration to try and hit you. But it's beautiful. There's something really nice about trying to explore and experiment with what it offers you. Because one of the last few levels I had introduced teleport. And so you had these two nodes where you could try and teleport around. And it turns out it took me a while to realise I could teleport background and I could teleport the words around. But if I manipulated them certain ways, then I could get teleported around. And it just keeps on delivering and keeps on edging things up without really being showy about it. You know how it's like say, let's just go with Mario. You know how Mario has the snow level, which is like, got a bit icy. Or the sand levels where you can start sinking down if you stand on the sand for too long. It's very on the nose, but by comparison. Whereas this just gently layers it in, going like, do you know that thing you just did? Well, cracks knuckles, offers you a new word. It's just wonderful. It is as hard as nails at times, and it can make you feel like an utter genius at other points. So I cannot recommend.
I'm going to have a look at this. I think it just. I was waiting to kind of talk to you about it because I saw that you were playing it on Twitter, and it just sounds so interesting. And I really wish, because I showed Nicola, and she was, I think my interpretation of it was probably different. So I'll get her to listen to what you say, and then she'll probably kind of want it after that, because I think the way that you've just said it there, if I had my Switch, I'd be downloading it now. I'm like, give it to me. It just sounds like it's exactly the kind of, because I have been bouncing around the Nintendo eShop looking for something to play, I'm playing Yoshi, which we'll get to in a moment, but I'm just looking for those kind of little snippets that I want to kind of play at the moment. Yeah,
it's great for that. I think I got a recommendation off of the Giant Beastcast a while ago, and just been sitting there slowly biding its time, but sat by the pool last week or just on the airplane just trying to. It was just the perfect time going, well, I can't really do anything else, so let's just lock in, stare at this, and get through a few more puzzles. So
how are you playing it? Are you playing it that you'll do a level, high-five yourself, and then leave it? Or if you're in that zone, are you just going until it hurts your brain?
Pretty much, yeah. It's that momentum thing, I think, where if you crack a level that you spent a long time on, you're going like, no, I think I've got this. Let's keep on going. And they do structure it quite nicely so that it opens up, and there should always be 2, 3, 4, 5 levels at a push that you can try. So you should, unless you've got to yourself to a certain point in the world, etc., you should always have a few options, so that if you do find yourself struggling, there are other ways you can go and do it. But there's a lot of themes that run through the world, so that there's like a world based on you trying to duplicate yourself,
right?
And so you got in a swing of that, going like, I think I can see the puzzles. I can see how they want me to solve it. And it's almost like, well, while my brain is in this space, I should utilize it.
Yes.
And so there is that definite case, but there were points where like I did switch over to other things like Yoshi, which is, you know, the complete opposite end of the spectrum, just lovely fluff. And again, we'll get to that in a minute. But it's like you need to be in the mood for Baba Is You, definitely.
Oh, superb. Excellent stuff. So that's Baba Is You. What else have you got? I love this list. What else? Wandersong. So this was recommended to me by one of my colleagues at work. And it was basically pitched to me like, you know how you're always the hero in a game? Well, imagine if you're not. Imagine if you're the bard. Right.
And like, first of all, I love that pitch. Yeah. It's like, because it even opens like that. The opening stages of the game basically show you trying to charge up the mountain with a massive sword, and then you realise you can't actually swing it because you're a weedly little bard. And it's got lovely bits of charm throughout that try and play on that. But the best part is the fact that always on the right stick is you've just got an octave.
Oh, wow.
Ready to go. You put it around, you know, north, northeast, you get to swing around the octave, sing up a scale, and you're there, and your bard's doing all the little gestures, going higher and lower and lower. And the flowers behind you start changing colour, or the birds in the air start jumping around, the background starts pulsing with you. It's just lively and fun to begin with, and there's just something so heartwarming about that it was, again, a different mechanic that started I latched onto. And it's broadly like a very basic structure of like an RPG and an adventure game. Like, there's no leveling up, but you do get to go through like villages and get quests and have to solve them, and then go and almost like a spirit realm. But it's not very branchy. It's almost like a linear storyline, but gives that illusion of, here's an RPG, this is what you're doing, and so riffs off of those principles. It starts off quite strong. There's a bit of a lull, as it just feels like it's going through some tropes in the second chapter. But then it starts picking up again as it's throughout just tries to give you more varied things to do. As it suddenly goes like, oh, maybe you don't want to do a side quest, but this time the side quest is about like, it's almost like a sim village with the world clicking by on a clock, and you've got to be at certain places at certain times.
Right.
And then you're in a war where you've got to try and balance two sides against each other. Or here's a more of a platforming section. And in between each of these, you visit a spirit world where you have to try and navigate through either a world that your music controls plants, or that it controls a snow world where you fly on a blizzard or a breeze, or even if it's like completely pitch dark, but your song illuminates the way, and so you can only see like the corners of the levels you're on. It just keeps throwing new and interesting ways to explore with what your music can do. The pacing could be better. It's a bit slow at points. I think it took about 10 hours for me to get through it all, and at times it did drag, but between the mechanics and just the charm of the writing and the personality of the characters involved, it just really won me over, because it wasn't the we're the hero, we're going to win it. It was, this underdog, this bard trying to fight through and defy the hero and see it through. It's again, I really liked it. For something that I didn't have any expectations going in for. It's another on my recommendation list.
That was a really good recommendation for you. I mean, I just had a quick look while you were talking about it. I just had a quick Google, and it has a really interesting art style as well. It kind of almost has a kind of unraveled kind of looking to it. It's a very interesting art style as well. Very bright.
Yeah, it's an Unraveled meets like South Park in some ways, because there's a very much like cut-out paper vibe to so much of it all.
It looks really good. It looks really good. Wow, you no wonder you weren't playing the Division 2. These so far you're like 2 for 2. And then Golf Peaks, which is next on your list. This is something that has definitely piqued my interest. Like I say, when I have been looking around the Nintendo eShop, this is one that kind of just looks interesting. It looks like it could be a really good puzzler. Yeah,
it's another puzzle game, nowhere near as mentally exploding as Baba Is You. But what really fascinated me with this was it's a golf game, but rather than playing Tiger Woods and swinging your stick at the ball, you have a series of cards you get to play. And so it's a strategic one where you have to get around a course that's made up of, I can't quite think, it's almost like Marble Madness or Snake, Rattle and Roll.
Yes.
It's this course that's isometric in front of you and all made up of different towered pieces. And you can just play a card that's got a shot that rolls, or you can play a card that's a bit of a chip shot and a roll, and they're all different lengths, and so you've got to try and figure out the best combination to get around the course to get it in the hole. And to begin with, it's quite a straightforward golf game, I guess, and you've just got to try and figure out how to get it down the course without it falling off the edges. And then it starts pulling in other aspects of golf. So it's got bunkers, which means that your ball won't roll through them. It's got full-on, like almost ponds that will just suck your ball down, so you have to avoid that square completely. It's got what's the word? Slopes. How could I forget the word slope? Slopes, so that your ball will just roll down it, and each of them just factors into where your ball can and can't go. It gets a bit Portal near the end, where it's got holes that will disappear down and pop up in elsewhere.
Awesome.
But I just think it's an ingenious concept for a puzzle. I think golf could possibly draw as many different people as possible. But that card playing aspect, I just really think's a clever way, because there must be a way of using these 6-7 cards in front of you, and there's only so many directions you can punt the ball. But again, it gives you that nice element of going like, aha, I have beaten your fiendish puzzle. I see what you did with that card there. I didn't need to use it at all. It's got that nice mix that you can just jump on it, do a couple of holes and be gone as well. It's not as intensive as Babra's You, so it was quite a nice foil in that respect.
So maybe kind of when Babra's You kind of hurts your brain, you then just go to Golf Peaks and then kind of just give it a relaxing kind of massage, and then go back to Babra's You, and then just kind of
just basically crying through a few holes, going, "I am clever.
Look what I did! I put the ball in the hole. It went in the hole." Oh, superb! So have you finished that as well, or is it quite a lengthy game? Is there a lot of courses?
It's reasonably lengthy. I think there's about 150 holes.
Oh, wow.
In it.
Okay.
I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through, and they do get interesting towards the end as they try and layer up all the mechanics onto each other, which makes it interesting. So, if you're trying to pitch something out of a bunker and you've got to try and land it on a slope that will then go through a portal that'll pop it up elsewhere, and there's a springboard. It gets very far from golf, let's just say at the end.
I love the idea of those. So far, these are just like amazing games. And then Yoshi, because this is something that I've been playing, and I think over the last couple of weeks I've been gushing a little bit about it, because I'm just enjoying playing kind of Yoshi. I'm enjoying the challenge that some of the later levels is giving me. I think I just have a big smile on my face. But how's it for you? Because I think you and Ali were playing it together, weren't you? You were co-oping all the levels.
Yeah. Well, we started to anyway, because we played a lot of Woolly's Crafty World. No, Yoshi's Woolly World when it came out on the Wii U. And for me, I was hoping of more of the same, because for Woolly World, I thought there was far more platforming. You know my whinge against Odyssey. There's not enough platforming.
Yes. You like a good platformer.
Yeah, a bit old school. And so we were hoping for a bit more of the, run left to right and try and battle through, try and make sure we get through it together. And so Crafted World just isn't quite the same.
Right.
And I think this probably is as much. I'm not disappointed. I'm just not ecstatic by Crafted World. I think it looks wonderful. I think in the same way there was a beautiful aesthetic with Woolly World, they've just taken that and given a bit of a shake, and just what they've been able to do with the papercraft. I can see why they've turned it from this 2D world into this 3D world, to give that sense of depth, to give that sense of almost like a Blue Peter made level that is just so charming. Because that second level where you're just walking past crabs made of buckets and upturned down cups and things like that, or the frog that's almost like a pop-up book that just appears as pages turn. It's beautiful, but in playing with that depth, I think it's lost some of the challenge. I think it's lost some of the challenge that is just purely how do I get through this level, and it is more of a how do I collect everything. And admittedly, we're only on the first couple of worlds, and it might get harder later on, but it just doesn't have that instant classic co-op feel to it. And I think partly because they've tried to make it more accommodating for the younger folks out there, because it's far too easy to jump accidentally on the other person's back.
Right. Oh, okay.
If you're both steaming along through the level, trying to even do like a series of jumps, if you just happen to land anywhere near the other person's backside, you appear to just like piggyback time, and one Yoshi gets the other, which is cool. In terms of like a parent's son-daughter relationship, that's cool, because the parent can maybe do the jumping and the Yoshi on the back can just fire eggs, unlimited eggs as well, so it's quite useful. But it just happens far too often for people who want to be independent Yoshis, strong independent Yoshis that can survive on their own in the world. So I just wish there was an option to turn it off.
Yes.
In some ways, just please stop that. It's annoying. So yeah, it just doesn't have quite the same connection, I think, that we had with Woody's World. There's just it's just a bit too soft.
Yes.
I guess in places we quite like the hardened edges that the other one had. But said that, I do think it's charming, and I am enjoying playing it. Like, I've been going back through and making sure that I collect some of the hidden items, and just looking at what they can do with the depth and the little secrets they hide, several planes back in the background. There's something really wonderful about seeing the Shy Guys wander through. And even like the first bosses, which is like the Condor, that looks very, Aztec, but made out of a balloon and a paper plate.
Yes.
It's lovely, and I'll carry on playing it. It's just not top of the list.
Yes. I mean, I think, because like I say, I've got to the point which I did predict last week, where I would only be able to get so far before I have to start doubling back. And then doubling back and going through, because I'm playing this on my own, playing it solo. I don't have like Nicola's constraints of getting everything before we move on. So and this is what happens. I end up doubling back and taking just as long. But so I've doubled back and gone to some of those earlier levels. But there was a level that I got to the other day, which was a ninja level. I think it's called Ninja-rama. And all of the characters are kind of like little ninjas, but they have ginormous throwing stars that are made out of paper. So the throwing stars are like twice as big as they are, and they just suddenly become big, and then they throw them at you. And that just made me chuckle so much. I think I was on the train. I think it was Friday when I was hiding from Star Wars. And I was just playing it on the train and just chuckling to myself, because these little guys were just really kind of making me laugh. And like I say, there has been times where I've been failing a level over and over again, because there are some little tricky platforming. So you may find that when you get levels deeper, like, have you got to the dinosaur level yet? No,
there was a weird point where I kept trying to replay the early levels to see if Ali wanted to come and join me again, so I played a lot of the early stuff, but I think she's admitted that she's not that interested, and now I'm ploughing forward.
Right. Because, like I say, it starts to kind of, there's a couple where you're in the sky, there's lots of balloons to jump over, and they start getting kind of a little bit fiddly, a little bit kind of tricky. So it'd be quite interesting to see kind of when you get a little bit deeper in it, kind of how it's faring. But yeah, I love the fact that you go to a level and they say, right, now you've got to find this, and then you do that, and they go, okay, right, now I need you to do that again, but there's other stuff that you need to find, and you just see it lurking there. One of them was like a big round plate, or they wanted a plate, so you had to find a flat fish that was a paper plate, a grey paper plate with eyes. Yeah. And I went through that level twice because I was looking for this tiny little fish, and it turns out the plate was ginormous, and I just completely...
I did exactly the same. It's like, that thing's the size of the screen. How did I miss that?
Yeah, because your eyes are just looking for this tiny little fish. It's small, it's going to be like that. But it was, I'm glad I'm not the only one then.
Wait, I've started tuning into it as well, because you realise that you can hit stuff in the background. Yes. It's like, well, it hasn't turned into a red coin, so it's probably something I've got to collect later.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. So the red coins, like, the replayability of it on a level, I think, is cute, because you do get to see these extras, and the fact you get to go back through in the opposite direction to try and find hidden Poochie puppies. That's adorable, because it gives you a time limit, and it's against the clock, and it gives you a different way to play it. I think I like that. And the hidden flowers, cool, good hidden flowers. But the 20 randomly hidden red coins that you don't get a single clue about where to go because they're tiny, they could be in the back. That one annoys me, because there's no mastery to it. It's more like I just have to try and hit everything. I just try and hit everything in the background in case it turns into a red coin, and I think that's almost I don't want to use the word lazy, but it seems like unimaginative, like compared to some of the quality that they put in the main Mario games, where the red coins were hidden tantalizingly out of sight and needed some sort of like skill or expertise to get there. Whereas this is just just fire an egg. Just fire an egg randomly. It might turn into a red coin because it's a hidden invisible thing somewhere.
Just jump up and down over in this corner and then a red coin. Yeah. I must admit, I think in all of my levels that I've done everything on, the red coins are the things that I haven't done. It's just like you will see that everything else is ticked, but the only thing that I haven't done is got the 20 red coins on so many levels. Because same as you, there's no hints, there's no clues, there's no logic to where these red coins are. Yeah. And I was just say, that's really interesting that we're both kind of we miss a flat fish, but also those red coins as well. So there's definitely something missing in that design mechanic because we're the smartest people we know, James. So.
Yes,
if we can't get it,
I've completed several Baba Is You levels.
Yes, absolutely. You should put that on your CV. I have now got to level World 4, level 7. Thank you very much. So was that all of your Nintendo Switchness?
That was all my Switchness anyway. Yeah, that I basically stocked up to make sure that when I went away, because every time I go away, I sleep really badly. So,
right.
I was up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning, and so to tide myself over before the breakfast buffet, I made sure I got some good Switch time in. So
superb.
But yes, before I actually went away, while I was lying on the sofa with my foot in the air, I started having a look again, looking for something different to pique my interest. Mm-hmm. I found Trials Fusion. I think a lot of the talk about, is it Trials Rising, the new one?
Yes, Trials Rising is the newest of the Trials game, isn't it?
Yeah. So Trials Fusion is from 5 years ago. And at first I thought I'd got it through Game Pass, but then after talking to Stu, it turns out I must have got it on Games for Gold, like goodness knows how long ago.
Yeah.
And I just fired it up, and I spent a really nice couple of hours that one Saturday morning just going through and just really appreciating what wonderful challenge Trials is, because it's quite unique in what it does. It's just here's an obstacle course that you've got to try and balance this engine with two wheels on throughout the entire thing, and because it's of that ilk where it also has ghosts of your friends, there's this inbuilt challenge ready to go. Even on that very first level, even 5 years later on, the ghosts of my friends were still there. And so you set off and you just see these shadows and these nameplates just dash off not in the same direction, but different speeds, or crash in different places, or take different flight paths. And it was just moreish. Yeah. Like I really wish that I'd actually just I almost bought it for the Switch at that point, but I thought I'd lose all the ghost data. So when I get a chance this week, I'm actually going to go back to Trials Fusion and just try and get better at it. I think it's one of those games that you can just hurl yourself through and go, sense of completion, yes, done World 1, felt alright, got through without falling off. But then just trying to get that mastery of the bike, I think one thing that clicked for me was that don't try and just gun it as much as possible. Like if you've got a massive jump, actually it's sometimes beneficial to jam on the brake at the last minute and just drop down rather than hurtle through the air.
Right.
And just even in those couple of hours, those memories that I had back from the original Trials were just starting to lurk and make me want to do more. But I'm not going to lie, seeing you and Matt's on the leaderboard slowly dropping away behind me as I got better and better over the course of that. And I really want to see who else has got it. If this was given away with gold, I've got the feeling that a lot of the sparks might have it.
Yes.
And so I always just want to instigate this weekend, this Easter weekend, will pick 1 or 2 levels and just go nuts at it and see how good we can get.
Oh my God, that would be just so cool. Because after you were talking about it on the WhatsApp group, I fired it up on the Sunday, because I think you were doing it on the Saturday, weren't you?
Yes.
So I fired it up on the Sunday just to have a look, and it's really interesting how, like you say, you suddenly see those names kind of flying off in front of you, and at that point you're like, right, and it's one button to just reset the level. So it's so easy to just go, right, okay, I need to to take that jump better. I need to take that dip better. And then you are kind of the euphoria that you feel when you're in front. Like when I see your name just kind of disappearing behind me, you just suddenly get so excited, and then suddenly you'll just crash or do something, and then you'll just go straight past, and it's just so that I just thought that was really cool, and I tried a couple of times, but I think on my Sunday morning gaming to try and beat you on the first world, but I just couldn't get. There was like a couple of seconds and I just couldn't get it. I was like, damn it, I'm either going to have to just stop playing this right now before I hurt my controller, or I'm just going to just stop it. Yeah, exactly. I'll just be completely addicted to this game. But it was just like, no, it was really cool. It was really good to kind of just have a kind of a callback to kind of 5 years ago where it was like, I've been playing that. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I've got that. And it was downloaded on my Xbox One as well. It was there. It was just weird.
I have no memory of you appearing. Where did you come from?
Exactly. Because I was like, I bet it's in like, your game library or where it is, or to be installed, isn't it, on Xbox? So I just kind of looked there first and I was like, oh, I mustn't have it. And then I just looked at installed and looked to change the filter. And there it was, just sitting there going, hello, yeah, you want to play me? It was just like,
play me.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, it's. I think friend leaderboards is one of the best inventions of like the modern gaming era.
Yes.
But then, yeah, the ghosts are just a level beyond. Like, obviously we've had them in things like Mario Kart for a long time, but just that live action, multiple, almost like Meat Boy element of just seeing everyone hurl themselves off the start line is just more games do that.
Exactly. I mean, it's quite interesting you should say that, because Nicola was playing Overcooked. So Overcooked has got a endless mode now. They've got an endless mode on all their levels. So you press, when you go up to a level, you just press Y, and then you can now do an endless mode. So it gives you 3 minutes to start off with, and every plate that you get out, it adds time to your timer. So nice. It just adds 10, 15 seconds or whatever it does, and it adds that. So Nicola went through and she was playing it for like about an hour, so she went through and kind of finished it. And I was expecting a leaderboard, but there was nothing. There's no leaderboard.
Wow.
So she just looked at me and went, well, why am I doing this? And I was like, I don't know. It's just, yeah. So she ended up like writing it down on a piece of paper, going, right, okay, I did, 7 minutes and 20 seconds and I did 150, it was that sort of stuff. And it was like, why isn't there a leaderboard for this? If you're going to put an endless mode, you need to put that friends challenge, because that would have made me jump in and try it. And then you then start trolling everybody else going, have you tried this? And I was really shocked, because you're right. Friends leaderboard it's such a great thing to do now, especially with, we're always kind of, all the consoles are connected, whether it's the Switch or Xbox or PlayStation, they're always connected. So it's just good to have that scores and being able to see if you are beating your friends or if you've still got some wiggle room to improve, which is always the latter for me. But it's like, so, but I was shocked to see that they had put this really cool mode in, but there was no leaderboard.
It's saying that, I'm sure they've, obviously you get scores for all the other ones, but I don't think they've had scores for leaderboards for any of them, have they?
No, but that's more of a kind of story mode campaign. But this is an endless mode. Yeah, exactly. We ended up going to Reddit. Because Nicola was like, well, okay, I did this. And I was like, well, let's see how you are kind of in the world, because we've been playing Defense Grid, and like Nicola's like 3rd in the world in Defense Grid,
wow.
And like, but there's only about 1,000 people playing it, but she's still kind of like, so it was like, well, let's see where you are kind of, and Reddit seemed to, there was some almost community leaderboards on a Overcooked 2 Reddit thread.
Ah, okay, so the internet will provide at least.
Yes, exactly. If the game doesn't provide it, the internet will do it for you. But Trials Fusion sounds like it could be a blast to kind of jump back in again and just to troll everyone.
Yes. If not, beat our younger selves at least.
Yes. Yeah, you just need to pick 2 levels that you're really good at, and then you go, right, guys, we need to try these 2 levels. And then the last game on your list, I haven't even heard of this one.
So yeah, I did Bubbles the Cat, which came out on Steam this last week, and I don't know how they found out about it, but somewhere my sister Jodie and Ali found the Bubbles the Cat Twitter feed, and the Twitter feed was asking for submissions for pets,
right?
Which could then be turned into pixel art, which could then appear in Bubbles the Cat the game.
Right.
So I've basically been drawn into this by my sister and my wife, who submitted, Jodie submitted her Hedgehog Kipling, and Ali submitted Berry. So somewhere hidden within the game is a pixelated hedgehog and a pixelated bunny that I need to try and find.
What?
So their marketing strategy of getting our pets in the game has worked, because I've now purchased their game.
Yeah.
So it's very early on. Like, I've only played probably about the first 10 levels or so, but it's a one-button platformer, sort of in the vein of, I guess Super Meat Boy, in the sense that you have to try and get to the goal, and there's various spikes and other things that can try and stop you getting there. It's nowhere near as hardcore as Meat Boy, but it's that sort of principle of, getting around. And what struck me is that at first I thought the one button thing was just going to be like a, gimmicky phone thing. But looking into it, they've worked with, I think they've got in touch with like Special Effect to make sure that this game is going to be accessible and usable for players that have, movement impairment or, physical disabilities. That means they can't use a full controller. So it's been developed with them in mind. But also it seems like it's just quite good, jolly, pixelated fun as well. So I'm like, I need to get a bit deeper into it. But early on, it's like, okay, this has got a place. This has got a place again. The only thing is, it's only available on Steam, so I've got to get my laptop out for it, which is never my preferred gaming method. But there's something quite nice about just like dabbling the space bar just to keep on going. And it's got that in the same way with Trials, that one button reset. So if you do mess up as you're going for the finish, it's right back to the start. It seems interesting. You're a cat that has to try and jump around this level, and you've got, I think it's like a sextuple jump. So you can jump 6 times in the air, and that'll recharge when you hit the floor again. So it allows for some mastery of having to try and judge where the ledges are or where some secret passages are, and you can either just get to the finish, you have to try and get to the finish in a certain time, or you just have to try and collect all the fish from the level, or all of them at once. So it seems like it's got layers of difficulty just built into each one. Looking forward to giving that a bit more of a go and finding quite where our tubby little bunny is sitting in the levels.
So do you think that at some point you'll be able to play as Berry?
No, she's just she's just a picture in the background.
But, right. That's because I'm just looking on Steam. I'm just looking at Bubbles the cat, and there seems to be other animals that are kind of in the centre. So at some point it's Bubbles, and then it turns into other cats or other animals. So it's just
you get to wear different hats.
Oh right,
so
there's a wizard hat at some point.
An aviator hat, the wizard hat, the top hat.
Yeah. Oh, superb. So does Berry know that he's in a game? Has he got a bit of an attitude now?
She's taking it very well. She's trying to be play it down.
Yeah.
She's only charging 1 carrot for a signature. It's
she's just a little bit hoity-toity now. She's like, well,
she thinks she's better than all the others now.
It's like there's a little cordoned off area in the corner.
Just pushes the normal food away, going, "I need the premium, dear."
Yes, only the premium for me. That just sounds so cool. That's fantastic. So that's Bubbles the cat.
Bubbles the cat on Steam. Yes. So I want to dig in a bit more before I give a true recommendation. But yeah, seems good and fun so far.
What an awesome list that you've been playing. That is just such a fantastic.
This is the advantage of going on holiday.
Yes.
I just have an excuse of like constantly taking the charger and just playing Switch. So that's my lengthy list out the way. How is your gaming week been going?
Well, I think for me, I'm still playing Borderlands. So Nicola and I are still in the point where we're playing Borderlands Game of the Year, and it's really interesting because I said last week I think that we're just going to continue playing until we're bored. Because we've been through Borderlands a couple of times, because we played it, and then I think I said last week, you then get to play a new game plus, and then I think we did that. So we went through the story twice in Borderlands, and but right now we're just saying, we'll watch a couple of programs, and so it gets about kind of at 8 o'clock, and we just say, do you want to play a bit of Borderlands? And we just jump into playing Borderlands. So I just said to Nicola, like, let's just keep going until you say, I've had enough, or I'm kind of done, or something else comes out that's taken your interest. I said, we're just playing it. And it's just really cool because we every night we're just jumping in, we're playing for a couple of levels, doing a whole load of quests, and then just turning it in. And there's something about that that's just, it's really funny because you mentioned Division. We keep saying it. I think we've said it for the last couple of weeks. We just haven't either had the time or no one's really kind of got together. You know, Steve was talking about it last week, but we haven't got together to kind of do that. But Borderlands is kind of scratching that itch for me at the moment, and I'm not hovering over that Division icon thinking I wish I was jumping back in, because there's something about Borderlands that I just enjoy. You know, the guns, the missions, the tongue-in-cheek comedy. It's just all just kind of clicking again, and this time I'm in shiny 4K.
Yeah, I can remember playing Borderlands the first time round, and I think what struck me early on was I almost felt like it was an MMO. Like there was a very distinct "go please kill 10 boars," and it took me a while to warm up for it. And it wasn't until I played it in co-op, with a couple of people on the car shooting around the world, or even just disappearing off into different directions, that actually no, this is one of the just a silly shooter at times, and I mean that in the nicest way. Like it's just something that doesn't take itself too seriously at all, and you can just enjoy without having to worry about the deep lore.
Yeah,
actually no, you just got a wisecracking robot you have to worry about. It's great.
Exactly. It's like you don't have to worry about what level you are, what weld tier you are, what light level you are. You just kind of level up.
Yeah.
And then if you look at a mission and it's level 22 and you're level 20, maybe not try it for a while. Maybe go and do something else, And I think with work being full on at the moment, it's quite nice to be able to switch off for a couple of hours, and that's what Borderlands is giving us. And there are some times we're going, oh yeah, we remember this, or oh yeah, we're doing that more and more now. It was almost like we forgot the starts, but now that we're kind of getting into it, we're like, oh yeah, I remember this level, I remember that save. I don't know how long it's going to be until Nicola does kind of switch off and say, I'm done. But right now it's just so much fun. It's just fun just kind of jumping in.
And I think that's all you can ask for. Play it until you get bored.
Yes, exactly. When you've got this Game of the Year edition or a remastered, that's it, isn't it? And that's kind of either go through it again and enjoy it like I did in Nathan Drake Collection, because I'd only dipped in parts of those games. I hadn't gone through that full Mass Murderer trilogy, but I just gone through those. So kind of doing that, it was great, and I loved playing all of those. But with Borderlands, like I say, it's something that we have played so much of. It's just nice just to kind of jump in and get ready. I know it's not until September, but get ready for Borderlands 3. And I think you're absolutely spot on with Borderlands. It's a game best played in co-op. I think Daz, when Darren was on the podcast, I think he tried to play Borderlands on his own. I don't think we ever caught up, or at that point we were too high level and he never joined, but he played on his own and he just said he was bored. He was like, because I think they are quite big open worlds and you could feel quite lonely quite quickly, I think, in Borderlands. So it definitely is a game that's best played with a bit of co-op or jumping into a match with randos.
Yeah, I think it's just the tone of the game suits that so well. Like it's an irreverent, light-hearted, well, not even light-hearted, just ridiculous comedic story. So it's built for that fun that co-op brings with it. So yeah, completely agree.
Absolutely. And then the other game I've obviously been playing, Yoshi's Crafted World, what we've been talking about. But the other game that I've been playing was on Monday night. There was news on Twitter of a new Forza game. So it kind of started coming out that there was a new Forza game, that there was Forza Street. And I suddenly got very excited about this new Forza game. Why didn't I know? What is this? Turns out it's a bit of an iOS game. I think it's out at the moment on Windows Store, and it's coming to iOS and Android. But Forza Street is a 1-button or 2-button driving game. And I think it was named Miami Street. I think it was. It was like Miami Street.
That rings a bell, yeah.
So I think it was called Miami Street up until maybe last week. And basically what it is it's a free-to-play collecting keys. It tries to kind of tempt you to buy car parts and spanners and things like that. But what it is a free-to-play, story-driven Forza game where you have these... Story. Yes. Story. Characters appear, they say something, but you're too busy hitting the spacebar to just get out of the way because I just want to do some more racing. And the racing is very very simplistic. I mean, I'm looking forward to this coming to to iPad and iOS, because it will be fun on the train to just kind of doodle with it. Because what it is you're basically pressing the spacebar for your acceleration. You have B to boost, and every course will have maybe 3 or 4 corners, and what you have to do is take your finger off the spacebar just as you're coming into the corner to get a perfect brake, and then you leave it off when you're kind of in these red zones, and then you just have to put it back right on the yellow zone, and then you have a perfect acceleration. And then by doing that, you will get in front of the other car. You can press B to boost once the boost appears, and then you just kind of race to the end. And it's really good. I've been replaying a level at the moment because my car isn't at the right level. It does an interesting thing where if you are so ahead of your opponent, you can just auto race.
Oh wow!
So
it's just like, I've done this. This is over.
My car is 214. Their car is 350. Auto race. I'm gonna win this. I'm phoning it in. There's a phoning it in button, and you just kind of, and you click on that, and it gives you, and then you claim rewards, and you get some rewards, and you can level up your cars. I think I've leveled up about 3 cars all the way at the moment, and then you just get more and more cars are added, and then you can actually race for upgrades as well. So there's a story race, and you go through these different chapters of the story, or there is a race for upgrades. I'm just playing it on a Surface at the moment. It's preset it to medium for graphics, so I can imagine that the graphics will look a little better, and maybe
So I installed it on my rig at work, which for development purposes has a very nice graphics card in it, and it's the most overblown use of my rig I have ever thought. I was there with like this full-on super shiny car, super shine, like you could see, it's so shiny, and just
I can't look at it. You're like, I can't look at it.
Come on, look at it. But what are you doing? I'm just pressing space. Yeah,
it's like woo. But there's something about the kind of winning, going through that tree and getting kind of upgrades that just suddenly Monday night and a bit of Tuesday, and I logged in today because there's an achievement. This has achievements. It has Xbox achievements.
I'm just going to boot it while we're playing.
There's an achievement for logging on for 7 days. You know, in a normal free-to-play game, every day you log in, you get a better and better and better reward. There's an achievement for 7 days, and I think it's about 75 gamer score, and I'm just like, yes, I will take that. So even if I just log on and do one race a day, then I'll be happy with that. But I just think it would be fun on the iPad. I'll definitely install it on the iPad when it kind of comes out. You know, just at the moment it's just.
I find it bizarre that it's actually come out on the PC first.
Yeah,
like it is ludicrous that. I mean, I guess, you know, it's a Windows platform, it's a Windows game, therefore, you know, it makes sense in some respects, but it is so overblown.
Yes.
As a PC thing. And as you're right, I can just see I can imagine there being something really satisfying about almost this rhythm action style break, because you got to hold the accelerator down and let off at the corner and then push back on when you get around the corner. Which is very similar to actually some prototypes that we've done in the past, and they get very rewarding if you've got a series of quick turns back and forth. They just feel like they're good, they're great. So I'm hoping that it gets like that you feel like you're always having to be on there, always having to be on that trigger, because at the moment it is just like I feel like it's very easy very early, and I guess that's to draw me in there. But
yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there has been some races where I know that because I've only got a good cornering or a good braking, good acceleration, that I've lost the race, you know. And the thing that I love the most is when you talk about over the top, is if you're kind of almost neck and neck towards the end, towards the finish line, it then goes into uber slow mode and really tries to just slow-mo it across, and it really adds the tension and tries to build the tension. And it just just really made me chuckle. The first time it did that, I was just like, wow. You know, it was just, I think I was like a half a car length in front of the guy I was racing. And it just really did just slow-mo and then I won and it was all just like, and it was just fantastic. You know, I just, like I say, at the moment it's piquing my interest, mainly because I'm going to keep going in for like the next 7 days.
For the I've just got an achievement now for logging in from a different machine, so...
Yes, yeah, there's an achievement for logging in for 2 days. So if you return, it's almost like welcome back achievement. And I think that will kind of give you that.
Please don't leave us achievement.
Yeah. Please just give us some money achievement. But yeah, and so it was so funny. Like Monday night, I took the Surface to bed, and I was sitting in bed, and I actually just fell asleep with my finger on the accelerator. So I was playing it, and I was listening to a podcast, and I just fell asleep listening to this podcast with my finger on the accelerator on the spacebar, and it just like woke up as everything just moved and fell off my lap, and it just really made me chuckle.
I just like to say your Porsche was just driven into a wall with the accelerator stuck down. Just...
Yeah. I think I probably still won the race as well. I'm not sure, but it was just like it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been playing. So Forza Street, which is like I say, it's now out on PC, but it will be out on iOS and Android later this year. I think is the only date that they're giving at the moment. But yeah, no, it's at the moment it's just kind of piqued my interest, and I am jumping in. So fantastic. That's a really good list of games that we've been playing.
It's a lengthy Let's Play. I usually struggle, but I think my backlash against the AAAs has just suddenly come into help.
Absolutely. Right, so with that, let's jump into the news. But before we start the news, don't forget you can rate, review, and subscribe to this very podcast for free on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. So in the news section this week, the PS5 is real. We have even more Star Wars news, as I was teasing at the top of the show, which James will be really happy about. And also,
that's where I take my loo break.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going now. And also, we have lots of the latest news from the Inside Xbox that aired yesterday. But James, the first piece of news is with you.
Yes, and it is the not PS5. They seem to very carefully say in this article that they ran on Wired, an exclusive interview with Mark Cerny. They very pointedly did not say PS5 at all, to add some air of mystery.
Yes.
Maybe there's a funky name around it, who knows? But yes, it's intrigued me, the way things sort of started. It's like Mark Cerny would like to get one thing out of the way right now. The video game console that Sony has spent the past 4 years building is no mere upgrade. And I actually quite like that, because so often we come into these generations where it's like just bigger, better, faster, stronger, which usually means more RAM, more processing, more, bigger graphics card. They seem to have actually tried to recognize some of the problems of this generation as a whole. Forget the manufacturer, this generation as a whole, and address them. And so, yeah, bizarrely, this week, Wired ran an interview with Mark Cerny almost out of nowhere, just to try and highlight the presence of the next generation PlayStation console. Don't know why. I don't know whether they were trying to get out ahead of E3, get out ahead of Xbox, whether Wired had some dirt on PlayStation and tried to use it as some leverage, as I've heard some rumours doing the rounds. But yeah, it was a very low-key announcement, and obviously a lot of the gaming sites then reported on Wired's article. But Wired's article itself was just an interview. There was no flashy video, there was no logo, there was no pre-renders of circuitry or what the box could look like. It was just a chat, which is I actually really like. Like there's so much like fanfare and razzmatazz and trumpeting of the new consoles. The fact this just slipped out just quite delicately and in almost like a quite conversational manner, I really enjoyed. It actually meant that you had to read the article to try and get the bump of it. You couldn't just watch. You couldn't get that. You didn't listen to the crowd screaming to try and amplify the emotions as the fanboys ran wild in the theatre seats. It actually meant there was some meat, or at least speculative meat to start looking at. So the bullet points that I've made anyway from what Mark, Mr. Cerny, was talking about was the big headline was it's not for 2019.
Yes,
there was no date really put on it, but it's definitely not for this year. So the big thing that Mark Cerny really stressed was that it's not going to be for 2019, and that they've accelerated the deployment of their dev kits, which I think it means it's like the specs are starting to be solidified. I think with every series of new consoles, you never get a final dev kit. You probably get one a few weeks before launch, but they're in scarce supply. Mm-hmm. So these dev kits they'll be rolling out now will be similar architecture. They'll be basically hammered together Macs or PCs in a similar fashion of huge amounts of RAM. Probably a broadly similar sort of hardware in there, but it's just a representative example. And these kits have been going out for developers to give them the time to try and get accustomed to the new XDK, to the new just systems they have to try and work with for possibly next Christmas's release. So they're getting out there, which again is possibly where the leaks might have come from. The top level spec is that the CPU is going to be a 3rd gen AMD Ryzen. I hope that means something to you.
Yes.
And the GPU is going to be a custom Radeon Navi variant. I hope that's good. But it's going to support ray tracing, which is, the new big buzzword that's coming out. So it's going to be future-proof with ray tracing. That will come at a cost. We'll find out what that goes for. But it was also interesting that the GPU hardware, just as we get nowadays, is not necessarily just for graphics. It's superb for maths. And so it means they have got a certain audio variant within their pathways. So audio occlusion, so it might mean that things behind walls actually sound like they could be behind walls, and you just get the echoes off them, which sounds interesting. So the actual hardware that's going in there is, well, I think probably goes against what Mark was saying. It is basically just an upgrade. Those two big things are the bigger, better CPUs and GPUs. They spoke about virtual reality, where the virtual reality headset is going to be compatible with the next generation. I found the wording of that quite interesting, because the camera, are you going to need a new camera? The wands are all right. But I think considering their PS3 technology, I think we could do with an upgrade on those ones at some point.
At the moment, for me, it's actually a blocker. There is a load of PlayStation PSVR games that I would love to play, but at the moment, getting it all out and plugging it all in and messing around with the PlayStation is actually stopping me from playing VR. So if it was do they call it inside tracking now, where you've got things like the inside out tracking, like the Quest, the news article that we'll get to next, was actually made me look at the Quest over the weekend, the Oculus Quest, because that had that, so you could just literally put a VR headset on and off you go. You're playing some sort of VR. So I would hope that the next generation, this next Sony console, not called the PS5, well, we don't know what it's going to be called, I hope they start kind of be compatible with the current one, because there's over 4 million out there, but also bring something new as well, such as those new technologies. Yeah,
I hope they're basically treating this as a, well, as you said, we've sold 4 million. Don't want to, because it's a lot of money to ask them to buy a new console and a new headset at that point in time. It'd be ludicrous to throw some of that away. But there needs to be a newer version.
Yes.
Like, even if the headset is just a headset that allows you to play things that just use the controller. I'm trying to think of the mouse game that you played.
Moss. Yeah.
Moss. That was just a controller game,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I can imagine that if it's just an output, that needs going, then I think the headset will be perfectly suited. But as we get further along, it needs to try and be better. It needs to have that 4K throughput, HDR throughput, with it all to stop, boxes getting in the way and angering the sparks. But yeah, it's interesting because the visor, I think, has always lagged behind the other ones just because of the power of the unit. So if they still utilise the power of that helmet and the resolution, the screen, which I think was slightly more advanced than it could effectively put out, then maybe we've got a head start on that. Maybe that's in home, in living room, console-based VR is actually going to become more of a reality, where they put all this new power from the Ryzen and the Navi into this headset. So I'm slightly more optimistic that there is actually commitment to this, but then I look back to, I got an email. So this is a side news story. I think the Drive Club servers are shutting down. next year.
Yes.
And they basically told me that I would be losing my Drive Club VR progress along the way. I always look back at Drive Club as the example of me loving and hating PSVR, that it was such a good use, like that cockpit-based gaming where you feel seated and you can turn around. Like checking the mirrors in games has never been so much fun as I thought in Drive Club. But it also ran at the resolution of an N64V rally.
Yes.
It's so if they can just keep the same headset and just put more resolution.
Exactly. That made me sick when I was playing Drive Club. It was just, I was enjoying what I was playing, but it just, breaking hard just made me want to vomit. It was horrible. But I just, with these new technologies that they're kind of as you say, we need to maybe phone a friend and have a chat with Manny, to understand what their CPU and GPU is actually kind of coming from. But ray tracing, like you say, it almost sounds like it's in front of PC right now. So it sounds like it's almost a high-end graphics card that we've got, and it's almost like it could potentially be what PC could be releasing later this year. So by the time it comes out, PC might just be kind of edging in front of it. But the spec that we have here sounds like it will compete almost toe-to-toe.
But as far as I understand it, the third gen AMD Ryzen CPU, I think they're coming out this summer.
Right.
So I think they're like the CPU at least is a beefy. Here it is. Poof, like we've got some power behind it. The GPU, just looking at the cost of general graphics cards, this will not be ahead of PC in any way, shape, or form. This won't be like a 2080 at all.
Right.
This will be a custom variation that will try and be optimized and slimmed down for what it is. But it sounds like it's got some grunt behind it, because as ever with a console, you've got to try and balance that cost to how is it going to look in 5 years.
Yes.
Years approach to it all. So it won't be up and there. And to be honest, the supports ray tracing. I honestly don't know enough about the graphics, but it sounds like it's a tick box that they're just preparing themselves that if this is the way it goes, then we're ready.
Yes.
We're ready, because I think it's an expensive process to try and do. This is why you only see it at the top end ones. So whether it ends up as another PSVR, sort of like, well, we can do it, but it's not a great resolution, we'll find out. But it's all about down to the implementation, the optimizations, and it's just specs right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm basically just blustering to who knows what it will look shiny.
Yes.
It will look shiny, but at least it can do it. The other bits of notes, like it still takes a disc, is one of the points they said, which I think is important given the announcement of the Xbox All Digital this week. It supports 8K, Anthony.
Yes.
Did you know that? It supports 8K. It supports a useless piece of technology that I have strong feelings against, because we haven't even got 1080p 60 sorted.
Yes.
And here we are jumping to 8K. So I'm sure it'll support lovely checkerboard.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say that. Yeah, it's just like the PlayStation Pro supports 4K. This supports 8K. I mean, when I saw it, I just thought, well, this is going to be for the next 5 years, but I can't even see 8K being mainstream in the 5 years. Everybody's coming up to 4K HDR now, and bandwidths, and, you imagine trying to get an 8K movie from Netflix or Apple TV or something like that. The size of the file, and already the games that we have, I think it was Red Dead Redemption that was over 100 gig. So imagine that, an 8K patch for that. Or look at when Gears of War and stuff. And I think it's great that they have it, because it's almost like, and Sony almost do that, isn't it? It's almost like we're going to have everything in there. We will say it supports 4K. I think the PlayStation 3 back in the day said it supported 1080p, and most of the games were 720. I think there is something that's always like, do you want 3D sound? Yeah, we've got that. Do you want 8K? Yeah, we've got that. And I think it's great, because if they support 8K, that means they must be able to do 4K easily. and I say this in air quotes, but I just like, if that's what you're saying, then 4K must be, everything will be native 4K.
Yeah, I think it's future proofing. Yeah. I think it's future proofing. And as we looked at the start of the Xbox, where the Xbox S had to come out for it to output 4K for the likes of YouTube and for the likes of Netflix. Yep. So at the very, very worst, I like this because the 8K is going to be, if apps are going to do it, if crazy Blu-rays are going to do it, if movies are going to do it, we can do it. So I think that's sensible. When it comes to games, it angers me. Let's do 4K 60. Let's try and do 4K 60. Yeah. Let's try and put more things in the world. Let's not just go for resolution in this day and age, because when 4K came out, there were scientific papers coming out that basically said that the human eye can't see it over a certain foot away from it. So I don't know what the viewing rate. Like, you're going to have your nose literally touching. You're going to have to lick your TV screen before you can tell the pixelated difference on this one.
Kids, don't lick your TV screen. But you're absolutely right. For me, I would rather see us crack 4K, have a rich world where, you look at something like Spider-Man. Spider-Man looks incredible. It looks incredible. When you play it, it's fantastic. But it could look better. And I'm not talking about resolution. I'm not talking about the amount of Ks or the amount of HDR, but I'm just actually talking about the character models, the world. All of that could be even shinier. And for me, I would like this next generation to just look at that and improve that. If we can do 4K 60, then let's just make Jedi Fallen Order just fall. Let's just put more things in the world and just have those characters, the character that you control, because there still is a point, and it's getting smaller and smaller, where you're in a intro to a game. Look at Forza Horizon. You were in that intro, and then suddenly you were playing it. And I had, for one of the first times in that generation, I'm actually playing it. And you were actually playing it. Even though there was a slight drop, it was so minuscule that it just looked, that intro, and whether that intro was running at a higher resolution or higher fidelity, I don't know. But there was that moment where you're like, this isn't the cutscene anymore. I am actually playing it. And I want more of that, because I'm happy with 4K. I'm happy with HDR. What was I playing last night? Gears of War. So I jumped into Inside Xbox, but I got GMT and BST wrong, so I had an hour to spare. So I fired up Gears of War 4, and I started playing that, and that is so shiny and smooth. And also 60 frames a second. I remember, I think it was Manny who said, just stick Forza Horizon on 60 frames a second and see. And it was the resolution dropped, but the frame rate was incredible. And driving at 60 frames a second was a huge difference. So if we can get 4K 60 in a racing game, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, one of the biggest bullet point for me was, and I think it backs up what his opening quote was, like, this is no mere upgrade, was all of the problems we've seen. Well, everything we've seen so far in this generation has been trying to battle that leap to 4K, or at least to larger worlds, and larger RAM has been balanced with either a disk drive or a slow ass hard drive. And most of the problems that we've seen about with loading times and the stall as you have to try and load into an open world or go between levels. And it is really down to, like, you've got a huge amount of RAM that you're basically trying to churn off of an old school disk. And what Sony are going to try and do in the next generation is actually focus on not only SSD hard drives, but actually trying to optimize the architecture to make sure that the loading bandwidth from those is optimized. Because we're going to have more RAM. We are going to have more RAM, and they are going to try and fill it to the brim. So we're going to have this. We're going to have worse situations, shall we say? Like, let's just say they have 4 times as much RAM. Therefore, you have to obviously fill it. So they need at least the load times to be at least 4 times quicker.
Right.
And at the demo they did with Wired, they had PlayStation 4 Spider-Man running, and it had a load time of 15 seconds. They then switched it over to the dev kit, and this is, as we said earlier, a not final spec dev kit, and the load time was less than a second. just between the SSD, between the optimized loading paths, between everything, you can get it down that quick.
Wow.
And obviously, you're basically talking back compat at that point in time, and newer things will have bigger textures, etc., yada yada. But that is a lovely place to be. To say that on the next generation, the back compat loading times are like 1/15 of what they were, which is like, if that's the way it's going, yes, this is no mirror upgrade, and I hope that Microsoft are doing the same thing, where we are focusing on making an end-to-end thing better, not just bigger.
Yeah. Because, when you jump into a game of Forza, the loading time for Forza is quite lengthy. You do just sit there kind of looking at the same screen and you're just like, you're waiting. But imagine if that was just cut down, for those kind of games where you are just kind of finish the race, finding the next race and continue going. If that was just kind of reduced to that time. So would that mean that the load time would continue on to the new games as well? Or will those new games kind of... So a PlayStation 5 game, would that have the same kind of load time as Spider-Man would have?
Well, so the PlayStation... How much RAM has the PlayStation got? 8 gig?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so it depends, say, like, if the PlayStation 5 had, like 32 gig, then it would take 4 times longer to fill that RAM up with whatever it was. And, it won't fill it full, but the chances are the devs will probably fill the same sort of percentage trying to make the most of it. So you will have that load time being longer than the PS4 back compat ones, because in theory you're trying to stretch that system further to put more.
You're trying to load more in, aren't you? You try and put more fidelity in all of that. And that's what I was wondering. But still, that would be fantastic. And playing Spider-Man, that difference is just incredible. And having... backwards compatibility games, and it would be really interesting to see if those checkerboard 4K games suddenly turn into native 4K games.
Yeah, I guess it depends what the render buffer looks like, because you look at the Xbox 360 back compat, and some of the games are native 4K because they've got in there and hacked around, done some magic wizardry. So I've no doubt that would be possible with the PS4 Plus, or whatever they're going to call it, but. Yeah.
But that's an interesting one, though, isn't it? It's like, what are they going to call it? With this iteration that we're having now, the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X really did just kind of change the conversation this time around. It's like, are you going to jump straight into 5 and go fresh, or are you going to just, like Xbox One, where are we going to go from an Xbox One? Are we just going to have an Xbox One X? That's what we've got right now. So are we going to have an Xbox One X Plus, and then, or are we going to go for a complete new naming convention that maybe starts a whole new platform rather than trying to find a number or a name next to it?
Well, it's weird, because I guess in phones, I guess you look at, like, the iPhone or the Galaxy, like, as much as people say, I've got an iPhone, or, I've got a Galaxy, there's still numbers attached to them. There's the S6, 7, 8, or whatever it is, and the iPhone 5, 6, X, Y, Z. And it's like, there's still numbers and letters and monikers attached to them. So I think even if we're talking about how the consoles are moving into this more, not disposable state, but upgradable state, where it's more iterative and everything turns around and everything's back compatible and it's one ecosystem these boxes are using. If Apple and Samsung, who are driving that mood, that back compat mood, you've got a digital library, you won't lose it no matter what platform you're on. I can't see an Xbox or PlayStation leaving that behind, because it's PlayStation and it's Xbox. They are the brands, and but you need to know what's what. You need to advertise the fact that there is a new shiny thing, and just having another advert going PlayStation, and it's that classic, isn't it? Like, the mum walks into game and going, "I'll have one of them PlayStations there, please, for my little boy." Okay, which one? The PlayStation. I think there needs to be something, so that at least in something you can hang your hat on, something that needs to be pitched. You want X, Y, or Z. And I think the S and the X are a great example, because there are 2 different variations. They are trying to be as close as possible, but there's the premium version and the I guess the standard version, if you were. And I don't think the PS4 and the PS4 Pro have quite the same thing, because the PS4 hasn't got an extension. No. It's not a PS4 bog standard, not PS4 vanilla. Whereas at least Xbox has been labelled as that to try and go like there's A and there's B. Yeah. There's not and B. Yeah. But yeah, so it probably will be PlayStation 5. I would love it if it's something ridiculous. But let's face it, we've got 4 empirical pieces of data that says it won't be.
Yes, they come out with PlayStation X just to kind of stick it to Microsoft.
I will also accept PlayStation V.
Yes.
I think that's that. Let's go Roman numerals on this.
That'd be quite cool, actually. I can quite see the advert for that. They'd like put another letter in there, because then it would lead nicely to VR as well. So then you've got marketing blood in me. I could see it. No, I just can't wait. I mean, it's interesting. It's good that they have said we're not coming out in 2019. And I think this Wired interview, no matter how it came about, whether Wired had the information, so they went to Sony and then they kind of did. I think this, as you were saying, this is a great way to just get Mark Cerny's bit out of the way, because when we had the PlayStation 4 Pro announcement, he was, I found it interesting because I like gadgets, but when you were listening to the other podcasts, they found that Mark Cerny bit was the bit that people were turning off on because it was a bit dull, it was a bit dry. Where this is the first time we've heard about it. People are poring over this article and trying to read everything, as you were saying. So I think this is a really good first step. And I know that PlayStation aren't going to E3 this year, but I have a feeling that you just know that they're going to put out one of their state of plays that's going to be about, give you some more information about PlayStation 5 or the next PlayStation. You know that they're not going to sit by and let Microsoft and Nintendo play their cards unchallenged during E3. They're going to either put out a game that nobody knows about, or they will put out some state of play that will equally be grabbing the headlines that week. So it's a very interesting time in the game space, and it always is when you're coming up to new consoles. If you think about it, over the next couple of years, we could have a new PlayStation, new Xbox, and the rumours that we were talking about either last week or the week before, where we could have a new Switch as well. A new slightly powerful Switch. So it's always good when you get new hardware. I do love new hardware. There's something about unboxing.
There's something juicy about it.
Exactly. It's just so good. Having that, just kind of getting that Amazon package and just enjoying, just playing with it for the first time. I can't wait. But it looks like we're going to have to wait until 2020.
Yeah. Before we disappear off this one, though, it's the final bullet points. They did stress that it will be backwards compatible.
Yes.
As it's based on the PS4 architecture. So I think given how this generation, they've said it isn't important. They've realised that in the shift to digital, how the fact, I think as you said a while ago with Samsung, Google and Apple, there's just this... People want things to carry. You buy a new phone, you want your games, your apps, your processors on there, and it's the same in this generation. Like they realise with PlayStation, if you've bought Journey, Flower, Last of Us digitally, it should be there and it will be playable on the PlayStation. Not 5.
Yeah, yes. The PlayStation Not 5. I mean, I think that's a really good move, and they need to do it. I think Microsoft showed the way with backwards compatibility and how important it is. And even this week we got some more back compat titles that were just so exciting and just really. And we'll talk about that a bit later. But it's just good to see that continues to go, and it's good to see that Sony are doing that, and hopefully maybe Nintendo one day will do that. And maybe, or they're just going to start buy it all over again. But saying that, if they said
another version of Mario Brothers,
exactly.
3.
If they said here's Mario 64 or here's Ocarina of Time, I would buy it again on the Switch, and they know that. They know that. But I do like the idea that all those games I'm buying digitally on the PlayStation 4, that I will be able to take them over. Whether they get shinier, nicer, is so, but it's just nice that I can now take that digital library wherever I go. Yep. And I think that's just it's such a good move, and it's good to see that Sony are doing that, and they're not just kind of going, well, we're out in front, so we don't need to do that. This is a new shiny console, and you only get your new shiny things on it. It's good that I'll be able to play Spider-Man and God of War, etc., and I'll be able to play those on my PlayStation V.
It's good. And with that, we head over to Wimbledon. We head over to SW19 for the next point of news.
That is what was it? What was it? Why would I put SWC?
Star Wars.
It is, isn't it? It's just like, oh my God.
It took me a while. Honestly,
I'll tell you what.
In the show notes, I honestly thought Anthony had gone. We were linking to some tennis news because I just read it as we've got down to SW19, which is how the BBC always refer to Wimbledon when they're trying to be cute.
It's really funny. It was like SWC, Star Wars Celebration. Anyway, so I'm going to cut that bit out. So anyway, Star Wars Celebration happened at the weekend, as we were talking about earlier. But good news for gamers, they announced 4 games. One we spoke about last week, which was four. There was Star Wars Pinball.
I really wasn't paying attention. I thought there was 1.
No, there's 3 games in there, and there was 4 games in total. So we had Star Wars Pinball on the Switch.
I'm going to pay attention.
So yeah, okay. Star Wars Pinball on the Switch. And then the next one that they talked about during a panel was Lego Star Wars. So we're going to have Lego Star Wars, another Lego Star Wars, because we had Lego Star Wars for Force Awakens, but we haven't had one for Last Jedi and also for the Rise of Skywalker. So what they're doing is they're going to be bringing out a Lego Star Wars game, is in development currently. At the TT Games are developing the new Star Wars game, which is going to cover the last 2 in this Skywalker trilogy. So we're going to get that kind of double Star Wars game of Last Jedi and then the Rise of Skywalker. So that's one. The second one, which really piqued my interest, was Vader Immortal. Now, Vader Immortal Episode 1, which was revealed, is a ILM cross a LAB. Now, these guys have been...
Is that a graphics card?
No, it's not. It's a studio. And they are the ones that did that kind of, when you go into, similar to the Ghostbusters thing that you did.
Oh,
yes. So they have done a Star Wars one for that. That's setting one of the Star Wars in. I think it was one of the prequels, and they have done that. But now they're bringing it home to a home console or to Oculus. So it's coming to Oculus Quest and also the other Oculus as well, which is the more high-end one that still needs a PC. So you're going to be able to get this, and this is Vader Immortal Episode 1, and it does look like I'll stick a link to the trailer because I watched the trailer about 4 times on Saturday when it was announced, and I was just like, I want, first of all I was like, please let this be PlayStation VR, but it wasn't. It's just coming out. It's exclusive to Oculus. So, and like I say, and then so I was like, okay, I'll have a look. What's an Oculus Quest? And then I Googled Oculus Quest, and then I went over to Oculus, started reading about that, going, this is interesting. This has got better fidelity than, the PlayStation VR. It's got, Beat Saber. It's got that really cool gun game with the robots, that was only on Oculus. It's kind of one of those ones where you load them into the headset. There's no PC that's needed. I was like, ooh, tell me more. Is it out now? Can I buy this now? And I ended up just kind of looking at it. And I think it's coming out later in the spring. We're in spring now, but it's coming out later in spring, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. But Vader Immortal basically is just, you're playing up against Darth Vader, but it's just the visuals in this trailer just look absolutely stunning, and you kind of go around Vader's castle, which was seen in Rogue One. It really did just pique my interest, and I just was like, I need to be able to play this somehow. So that's Vader Immortal. But then the biggest one, the one that kind of had me just sitting, waiting, watching on a Saturday night, watching the Star Wars Celebration, SWC 19, watching Star Wars Celebration, was that EA and Respawn announced Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, we were talking about it last week, Steve and I were chatting about it, but then what they did was they had a whole panel for the Fallen Order, and they kind of had a bit of a chat about it, and they were just kind of going through setting the scene, showing us who the protagonist was, and what era this is all set in. And then I think halfway through the panel, they showed us a trailer, an announcement trailer for Jedi Fallen Order, and it just looked absolutely fantastic. As a Star Wars fan as I am, this was just so fantastic because the world looked so rich. It looked just like it would be. I thought at one point they had a bit of gameplay in the middle, but I think Steve might have said that there was a bit at the end saying there's no gameplay.
Yeah, they clarified I think it's all in engine. Make of that what you will, but yeah, nothing gameplay.
But yeah, so I think that's it, isn't it? It's almost like that bit in the middle where they were wall running, which is a respawn trait. I think that bit where they were wall running was just kind of like in game. It stars Cameron Moynihan, who is from Gotham. So he's the guy who is the Joker-y character in Gotham, or what I've seen in Gotham, and he's going to play the main protagonist in this game. And it's a single player game. I think they came back out and said that there will be no microtransactions, which you kind of almost feel Twitter eye rolling and tutting, going, why do you need to say that? But I think it's EA, so they need to say that. I think they need to kind of tell us that, but they basically just said there's no multiplayer. It's going to be a single player story game, no microtransaction, and you are a Padawan, and you are basically trying to survive Order 66. And this just looks like it's going to be a really good game that's coming out in November. It's just in time before the Rise of Skywalker, which comes out in December. It's the perfect time for that Star Wars hype bubble that I'm going to be living in. So I think this is just absolutely perfect time with it. So have you caught the trailer? Have you had a look at the trailer?
I've caught the trailer, and I'll be honest, like, any trailer that does that, going like, cool, I have no idea what to expect from the game.
Yeah.
Like, it's very hard to form an opinion of what it could be. However, given what you folks have told me about where it's actually set, like in that, during the extermination of the Jedi, please correct me.
No, you're right.
Like, it actually seems like it's a more interesting plot point than many of the other Star Wars games that have come out in recent time. Like, you're not the hero. You're not trying to, turn over the Empire. You're not trying to raid a squad and defeat everything. This has got the possibilities of, a bit of role play, a bit of stealth, a bit of, understated Jedi-ness, rather than going, look, I'm holding a Star Destroyer above my head.
Yes.
So I'm interested in that respect, because the actual elements of Star Wars I enjoy from a gameplay point of view. Like, I forget, what was the 360 one? What was the 360 game called?
Force Unleashed.
Unleashed. I think it's like the powers of a Jedi are perfectly suited to a video game.
Yes.
Between telekinesis, like being able to just batting away laser shots is one of my most favourite things I think I've done into like an action shooty game, because it just makes you feel superb. Like, even whether it be a Lego one or the Force Unleashed, just like beep, boop, beep, boop, boop.
Yeah,
it's like this. I am that video game god that every introduction in any video game has told me I am. It's like, this is perfect. But yeah, I just want to see what it is. Is it third person, first person? I mean, guessing from some of the hints, it's probably more first person. But yeah.
It seems like, because they were saying that they're going to be concentrating on, rather than just being a hack and slash beat 'em, but like shoot 'em up, it's going to kind of really kind of look at lightsaber battles and really pay attention to that. So a lot of people were drawing comparisons to maybe Dark Souls or something like that, the way that Dark Souls with their kind of parry moves and things like that. But I don't think it's going to, something that needs to be as mainstream as Star Wars coming out just before the next Star Wars film can't be a Dark Souls game. You're never going to get a Star Wars Dark Souls game, because that will put too many people off. But I can see that they can still have some really good mechanics in there with the lightsaber, and they can really kind of go to town with defending and blocking, and as you say, just deflecting laser shots would be incredible. And I just, the look and the tone of this game was just, I want to know more, and we're going to find out more at E3. So as part of the whole EA Play, they're going to be showing us more of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So we're going to get kind of more info, maybe a spot of gameplay then I will pre-order at that point, because at the moment it was really funny, because you were like, you haven't pre-ordered, have you? And I looked, because they said, you can pre-order now, and exactly the same as you were saying. It's like, why would I pre-order this right now? I know nothing about this game. We could come out and it could be an expansion for Minecraft. It could be anything. But we've just had that really nice sizzle trailer, and it did get me excited for it. But I just thought, no, I'm gonna buy it anyway. I know I'm going to buy it anyway, but I just thought, I'm going to hold off pre-order until you show me some gameplay. I'm keeping them a ransom, James. I'm making them show me some gameplay.
I'm going to give them their money. It's just a matter of when, so I hope they're suffering.
They don't know that. They don't know that my money is coming. But yeah, so it looks like it could be a ton of fun. You know, the lightsaber battles in Force Unleashed were always good fun. You know, like I say, it's potentially could be pared down because you are a Padawan, even though the character you played in Force Unleashed was started off as a Padawan, but you are kind of that, you're just learning your powers, so you can just be, but they are saying, EA, Respawn, Vince Ampello was saying it's like 20 hours, you know, there's a good chunky campaign in here, and that's exactly what we want, you know, so please EA, don't cancel it, let's just keep it going, leave it alone and just let it kind of happen, but I can't wait. So we had some really good, some really good announcements in Star Wars Celebration from a gaming point of view. But I think Vader Immortal, Lego Star Wars is going to be fun. You're going to need to play that anyway. But Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order really did just kind of just take me over the edge. I think Vader Immortal kind of got me closer, and I was giddy with it, and it was absolutely fantastic. There's lots of kind of characters that were appearing. I know Steve, not Steve from the pod, but Steve from one of our WhatsApp groups. He was talking about the Dark Sisters, which I think is like a call out to the Clone Wars. So there was, you know, there's even stuff that I didn't quite kind of get, but I think the villains in this, the bads in this game, are going to be very interesting as well, and it looks like it could be quite a dark Star Wars game, but I'm sure it will be uplifting at the end, and there will be Ewoks.
There'll be Ewoks singing and dancing. It'll be fun.
That's all we need. That's all we need. That's all we need to make me happy. But speaking of making me happy, your next item really does make me happy. James, next piece of news is with you.
So when I first saw this go around Twitter, I thought someone was taking the mick.
I thought it was a joke.
Someone actually sent me this, and I thought that Capcom have rebranded their logo. So what I first saw was a 3D Capcom logo with a couple of joysticks popping out of it. And I thought, that's you know, I can see what they're trying to do here. Capcom going back to their roots here, going like, you know, we're an arcade company. This is the new logo for the new era. And it, you know, irritated me slightly because the sticks were slightly off center of any of the letters or something like that. And then it turned out that Capcom are releasing their equivalent of, you know, the classic NES, classic PlayStation, classic SNES, and they're releasing a box that's got 16 arcade games in it, except that the box literally is their logo. Their box is the word Capcom in their blue and yellow letters. It's 3/4 of a meter long, and it's two joysticks, and it's two arcade sticks wired together in just this monstrous beast of distasteful plastic.
It's horrible.
That I honestly just can't get over. It is hideous. Utterly hideous. It's as if a boardroom joke got out of control and no one wanted to say to the CEO, this is ridiculous. But this is literally the letters Capcom.
Yes.
And the plastic around it molds around the letters, so you know you get the curve of the C and the bumps over the M. It's got two joysticks, it's got 6 buttons on each side, and this is a console that you can plug into your TV to play the likes of 1944 and Street Fighter and Final Fight and Ghouls and Ghosts. And to top this hideous monstrosity off, it costs £200.
It has to, because there's lots of wording that's gone into it. It's just so big. It's just so big and crazy.
It's insane. Like, it's hideous, but I hope someone I know buys it.
Yes.
Like, I want to see this in the flesh. There's a couple of fighting game fanatics at work that I hope they get this. And I just want to see what this 2.5 foot long beast would look like trying to be wired into a TV or so. Like, how heavy? Like, I'm imagining this has to have some weight. If you've got two people trying to play with fight sticks on Street Fighter, this has got to have some heft to it to make sure that you know, my friend Jake just doesn't flip the table as he defeats Andy for the 13th time or something like that.
It is, like you say, it does look like a board. It just looks like they were struggling with the design, and someone just went, "Oh, what about the logo?" And they're like, "Oh, the logo!
That's genius!
You've done it! You've nailed it!" And then that person got a raise where they should have got sacked. But it's just when I saw it, same as you, because I just almost like blew past it on Twitter because it was like Capcom, and I was like, well, there's so many of these like minis that are out, and then I almost just like reversed. It was like the equivalent of a Twitter reverse when it almost the image and what I just seen registered in my brain went, hold up a second, was that what I thought it was? And then I just backed up through my timeline like a backed up truck, and then I was just like, I couldn't believe that this is actually the final product. Because then I thought, well, maybe this is just proof of concept. I had so many thoughts. I thought maybe this is proof of concept.
Like the original Xbox. That's what I thought. It was like the original Xbox was an X. And then thankfully someone said no.
Yes. And this is just crazy. And we need to get Manny to buy it. So it was just like... Manny, buy a Capcom game. What's it called? Capcom Home Arcade, isn't it? You know, it's just like, it's crazy. It is... Those joysticks look really shiny, though.
Yeah, I think they've got something somewhere about being like really high quality arcade.
Yeah, I mean they look really
parts
good
to it all. So I get the feeling most of the cost will actually be because it is a substantial piece of kit. Because like, you look at arcade sticks in general, and they can go for like 60, 70 quid for like, you know, good but not great versions. So I can see where some of the price goes to it all. I mean, to give it its dues, I like some of the stuff this is doing as a system because it's got, like bespoke emulation. So they've tried to find the best one to suit their arcade machines because it's based off the first couple of. It's called CPS1 and CPS2, so the hardware that built the Capcom arcade machines back in the early 90s. But it's also got Wi-Fi support. Yeah. And they've already stated that that it's not going to be for you to play online because these are obviously emulated versions of the old things, but it's for leaderboards.
Oh, right.
Which I think is great because, you know, half the fun of like an arcade machine is, as we were saying earlier with Trials, like a high score system. So to have that global community based around these things so that your scores is going to be more than just, you know, resets when you turn the power off. That's quite neat. I really like that addition to it all.
It's really funny. It is. It's one of those things where you're just like, oh, that's hideous. But but actually, it's quite... And it comes out in October. It's just coming out in October. But it is. I'll put a link to the show. I'll put a link to this article on Eurogamer in the show notes because you have to see it. It is just... It's bonkers.
It's a thing. It's a thing that is apparently going to exist.
But I couldn't imagine kind of having this down in the movie room. You know, like Nicola gets home from work and I've suddenly got Capcom across, you know, on the footstool or on one of the chests or something. It's just a ginormous Capcom logo. But it's not just something that you just kind of, you're playing it. You know, you are actually kind of, I just can't imagine this going anywhere apart from Manny's house.
I mean, we say this, but let's face it. If there was a Nintendo version, this would be on my coffee table /wall. I mean, maybe this is the way forward. Maybe they will ditch the N64 Mini and go for the N64 Maxi at this point in time.
But you imagine that. Actually, you're right there, right? You imagine just having like a couple of clips on a wall and that you could just clip this onto the wall. You know, in the games room, movie room, in your where you are, kind of in your kind of chill out room. Imagine just having this on there because you've got HDMI power, HDMI. So all you need to do is, USB power. So all you need to do is just take it down. And then just like two wires, if you had both those wires, then you're good to go. Yeah. As you say, imagine if this was a Nintendo. Imagine if that just said Nintendo. And oh my goodness. But
take my money.
It's hideous. It's hideous, but it's lovely. And it's just bonkers, but it's stupid.
Yeah, it's one that you just can't stop staring at it. But
I want to play that YouTube trailer again, but I know if I do, it'll make sound, so I'll play that afterwards. But yeah, I mean, they've got Yeah, I just can't stop looking at it. I keep scrolling to the top of that article. It's fantastic.
Let's move on, otherwise we're just going to be transfixed by its beauty.
Absolutely. And the next one from me, which I've just shut down my my news item, but the next one from me is last night we're podding on Wednesday, but on Tuesday we had the latest Inside Xbox. So it's the Inside Xbox for April, and there was a whole load of news that kind of came out of that. It was one of those shows that was about an hour long. Major Nelson and Co. Took to Mixer, and if you watched via Mixer, you did get some free stuff for both Sea of Thieves and also for Rage 2. I think there was a Rage 2 avatar item, but the episode itself was full of some really good news. And so what we had first was we had the introduction of the new Xbox One S all digital edition. So they actually showed it. Major Nelson donned his custom white gloves now that he does when he's unveiling new items. So you know he did that in the pre-show, so you knew there was something nice coming. So they showed the Xbox One S all digital, and they had a really funny, almost kind of a tongue-in-cheek to Apple, Google videos where they had a whole load of hardware technical guys just going, what can we do with this? They need it to make it smaller. And then someone said, we just delete the disk drive. You know, they had this real kind of play, and it was really funny. It really made me chuckle because you just had this like delete sound and you heard it go into the trash can. They were like, do it again. And so they just deleted it, and then there it is, the Xbox One S all digital. And it exactly that. You know, it just looks like an Xbox One S, but there was just no disk drive in it. There's just a nice white, clean panel, and it actually looks quite nice. You know, it's no bigger, it's no smaller, it's no bigger, but it actually looks like a nice piece of kit. So that's coming out. Pre-orders have started already on Microsoft, I think on Amazon as well now, and
I'm looking at Amazon now. Yeah.
So is it up on Amazon as well? So yes,
pre-order available 7th of May. So yeah, that's only 3 weeks?
Yes.
Away?
So it's going to be $249 in the US. So $249.99 in the US. It's $199 in the UK. And what they were saying last night is that they're always going to be $50 lower than the Xbox One S. So the Xbox One S, if that has a price drop to $200, then this is going to be $150. So there's always going to be a $50 difference between the all digital and this one. And it also comes with Minecraft, Forza Horizon 3, not 4, Forza Horizon 3, Minecraft, and then the very awesome piratey game that maybe we don't know what that name of that game is, but it also comes with Sea of Thieves. So you get Sea of Thieves, Minecraft, and also Forza Horizon 3 already kind of either pre-installed or a download code for that. And when you boot up the Xbox One S or Digital Edition, you get a free, I think it's 3 months to Game Pass Unlimited. It may just be Game Pass, but we'll get to Unlimited in a mo. But you get 3 months of that for just $1 as well. So there is some incentives to kind of be part of that. And I kind of feel that if you're buying that Xbox One S all digital, you really need to be in Game Pass. I think those two things are almost kind of coming hand in hand, because that's how you're probably going to be getting those games.
Yeah, I can see some of that becoming standard as well. Like, just the inclusion of Game Pass as a slip-in for any new console. I think it's the same as like when I got my telly last year. It came with like a free 3-month subscription to Netflix. It's an easy way in. I haven't unsubscribed from Netflix since we got it, so it's the hey, look what you could get. Just try it. You might like it.
Give this a whirl.
I think it's a sensible way to go, especially as you say, there's no disk drive on this.
No, exactly. So that's kind of how you're going to be getting it. It's a 1 terabyte hard drive, but again, as with the other Xboxes, it supports that external drive. I think up to 2 external drives. It will always support that. So you can, if you're downloading more games, you want to keep them on your Xbox One S or digital, you can plug in external storage. So I think this is, it's great. There's obviously a need for it. It's a nice step forward for Microsoft too. I've noticed over the last year, or maybe even longer than that Microsoft have been trying some things. Like they had the Xbox One S on a budget, didn't they, where you could pay monthly, and then they've been trying that, and they've also announced last night, it had been leaked, I'm sure we were talking about it last week, which is Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Now what this does is it combines Xbox Live Gold membership and Game Pass together together in just one kind of handy, I think it's $14.99 a month, $10.99 in the UK, but it just kind of puts those two together and just kind of makes it a nice kind of one payment. Now, obviously, I don't know about you, James, but for me, I'm always kind of finding maybe a good deal on Amazon or something like that, so I'm stacking up. I think my gold runs out in like 2021 or something, it's kind of...
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I found out when Matt and I found a deal and found out you can only have gold for 2 years in the future.
Right, yes, so I think that's it.
So
I think,
we found out you max that out, so we're ready to go for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure mine said the last time it's like, auto renew on like the February 2021 or something like that. So if you've still got that, that's fine. You can actually convert your Game Pass and your Xbox Live into Ultimate Game Pass if you want. There is a way of doing that. And that's going to be rolling out later this year. They are going to try it with the Insider program. So they're going to... So the Xbox Insider program is going to test drive it, see what it's like, and then they'll get feedback and maybe change it if they need to, but it's going to be rolling out later this year. So I thought that was a really good... I think it's quite nice, especially if you don't want 2 outgoings, or if you just want to do it one lump sum for your Microsoft subscription. It's quite nice just to kind of bundle those together, because at the moment, they are just 2 separate and could be a bit messy.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Like, if they go for subscription services, it was always going to be a case of they were at some point in time being bundled in together. I think if PlayStation, is it Now their streaming service? I think if that had been more successful as well, you could probably seen a PlayStation Plus combo going with those as well. But yeah, this seems to be the future. This is the get your phone and your landline and your TV cable bundle all in one nice monthly package at this point to save a bit.
Just jumping off what you just said there, I wonder if the PlayStation V or the next PlayStation will come with something similar to Game Pass. Imagine paying like a monthly subscription, you get God of War and Spider-Man and Days Gone and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, they've obviously got the system there already with the streaming from the previous platform, well, PlayStation 2 at least. I think 3's tricky. So yeah, there must be, I would imagine especially with the announcement of Google's Stadia knocking around, there must be something coming along the line, or at least bubbling under the surface.
Yeah, and then following on from that and linking into that, backwards compatibility, we've got some new titles coming to backwards compatibility. We had Ninja Gaiden 2, Fable 2 and 3 are now kind of back compat, and I think they, with the Xbox One X, they get enhanced as well, so they have enhanced visuals. And then they also announced a trio of Tom Clancy Splinter Cell games as well, with Blacklist, Conviction, and Double Agent all coming to backwards compatibility. I think either today or in the next couple of days, all of those games are going to be coming to backwards compatibility. So the show rolled on. They also showed Xbox Fan Fest is coming back, and they're going to have a link this Friday because you need to apply. And then I think there's a random draw for the 500 or even more this year people that can be coming to Xbox Fan Fest. And then they jumped over to Twycross, and Joe Neat kind of jumped in and told us a bit the face of the gorgeous face of Sea of Thieves, told us a bit more about the anniversary update, which just looks so awesome. They kind of went through the sizzle reel of the anniversary update, but the stuff that you guys are putting into that, just, I can't wait to play that. It's the 30th of April, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, just a couple of weeks away. It's very close. It's weird because I think the amount of times I've probably mentioned the game on the podcast is countless, but mainly because I still play it. Like I haven't put in 350 odd hours just for the sake of work. Like, this is something I still enjoy. And so for the crews that I sail with, the fact that we're adding more to like the sandbox with the Hunter's Call, so we're adding fishing and harpooning and cooking to make the general adventuring around the world feel nice. But we're adding the narrative mode in Tall Tales. So you've got a series of adventures you have to go on. There's a proper storyline that you have to go through. So for those people who actually want some proper direction, who want some like real pointed narrative, there's that to do. And then of course we've got the arena, which is the PvP area where 5 crews battle out to try and get the most silver on the Sea of Thieves. So be it through cannon battles against different ships or finding treasure, you can try and compete and be the best crew in the tavern at the end of the session. So what I'm liking about it from a player point of view is that it's different ways to play.
Yes.
And I've found that during like the playtest, there's just some absolutely ridiculous things you can do with the harpoon. Like the harpoon is going to change how you park. Antony.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Like so, it's the fact that you can like we've managed to basically do a handbrake turn around an island by just firing the harpoon in, locking it, and letting the momentum of the ship just swing us around 90 degrees, and then allow us to coast in. But equally, if we've parked really badly, it's just like, okay, we're just going to fire the harpoon off and just wheel ourselves in slowly, and that's not even counting the shenanigans you can get while trying to board other people's ships or steal treasure off islands and like just sucking. It's the harpoon is just stupid.
Do you know what? I hadn't even thought about that, about how you could just like, because there was a game in I think it was 1989, the Batman game for the Mega Drive, where that's how you took corners. You kind of fired out the harpoon and kind of slung it around the corner. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together that I'd be able to do this in Sea of Thieves. Oh, I just love those harpoons. Those harpoons just look like so much fun. And you can harpoon another ship, can't you, as well? Yes.
Yes. For better or for worse.
So if you harpooned another ship, can you pull it towards you then? Yeah.
Yeah, just slowly crank it in, and then board them and take their treasure.
I did love that when they were talking about that, they did say, like, you've got the harpoon and you've got the fishing rod and normal physics apply. And I did like that as well, that it was just that it's not just kind of just firing out and it will get there, you know. It's kind of, you need to make sure that you've got the right levels and the right, and so I just thought that was very exciting. But the Tall Tales, I'm very excited to jump into the Tall Tales. I love the idea that there's like 9 episodes in the story. I think Joe was saying last night, 9 episodes in the story that just kind of take you on different quests and things like that. But while you're playing Tall Tales, you're just in the normal world of Sea of Thieves, aren't you? And so another crew could come and disrupt your story
and say hello. Yes,
and say hello and help you
you along in certain ways. Yeah, I will be honest. I have tried to stay as, apart from like the bits of work or the bug fixing I've been doing.
Yeah.
Like, the Tall Tale stuff is like is on another feature team, and so because of that, I've been trying to stay as far away as possible. Like, I don't want to look at the narrative. I don't want to look at the puzzles. I will try and bug fix in just abstract space to try and help them out. But I don't want to see where it fits in the chain of the story, because I want it to be a surprise for me when I actually come along.
But it just sounds like so much fun. That weekend when that comes out, I just want to jump into those Tall Towers. I want to jump into the merchant quest. The fact that you are now fishing, cooking. I love the idea of cooking. That just kind of, I didn't know that until last night, and I had a right chuckle when I saw that.
Joe came back from having one of his like play sessions at, I think it was like TwitchCon or what have you, and he basically said he was trying to take on the other crews, and he looked around like all the rest of his crew was just sat on the edge of the boat fishing. It's like, guys, where's Cannonball?
That's just so cool. Oh my goodness, that's going to be me. They'll be like, where is he? And I'm just like, I'm trying to get this Kraken. But that's just so cool. But I did love the idea that you can just do the cooking. I just think, like as you say, the anniversary update really does just kind of give you 3 new ways or 3 different ways to play Sea of Thieves, and I just think it's a fantastic update to an amazing game.
Yes, yeah. Me and my sister have already spoken. We want to try and get my mum to Pirate Legend purely through fishing alone. So we'll see what we can do.
Is that possible?
No, we don't want to break a dream just yet. But yeah.
We won't tell her that you can't do it, but you just get her in the game, and then suddenly she'll be calling you, going, you'll get a call at work, and she'll be like, James, I'm trying to do this, but this is happening.
My mum's got a long history with fishing in games. Like back when I used to work at Toys R Us, like the first year I worked there, I used to have to do like, I think it was like 12 till 10 or 10 till 10 shifts, and like as my first proper retail job, that was just like a lot. And so when I got back late at night, and she was very sweet, you know, she made sure I had some food ready. Then she'd stop up and like just with me to help me unwind. And part of that was we'd just play Ocarina of Time on the N64 together. But not the main quest. I can't remember where it was, but there's that little pond where you get to go fishing.
Yes.
And so for like hours, week on week on week, we'll just fish. Just fish there of an evening. And she's taken that up in Animal Crossing and ever since. So it's just like, yep, gonna try and get her on Sea of Thieves, even if it's just at the end of one pier, just fishing. But yeah.
That's so adorable. That is it, because that was by Zora's Fountain, wasn't it? That way.
I will have to. I can barely remember anything of that game apart from fishing.
It was to the right and down the little alleyway. I'm sure of it. But that's just amazing. And so in Sea of Thieves, we have different hooks, we have different hats, we have different pirates on some. Can we get different fishing rods?
Oh yes. You can pimp my fishing rod. Yes.
Oh, that's just so cool. So we can have one that matches the rest of the set that you have.
Yes.
Oh, that is just so good. So it's not just your bog standard. Of course. Why would I even think that it would just be your bog standard fishing rod? You can have just fancy fishing rods.
The fanciest you can find, sir.
Oh, I love it. So that was Sea of Thieves. So the anniversary update coming out on the 30th, and then towards the end of the episode, Major Nelson sat down with Phil Spencer, and had a chat with Phil. I think he was fresh off of a Japan trip, seeing the studios out there. And he basically just sat down. They basically just had a chat about where they are. And just talking about kind of where the Xbox brand is and kind of what they're going to be doing at E3 made everybody aware that there is going to be a full E3 showcase happening in June. They also gave the details of that as well, along with FanFest. And I think FanFest tickets now get you into not only the briefing but actually gets you into E3 as well. But then the most awesome kind of snippet out of the Phil Spencer interview was that Phil, while he was away visiting these studios in Japan and beyond, he's been playing his own personal xCloud server. So he's now trying to get to like light level 750 in Destiny 2. he's trying to get all of the orbs on Crackdown, and he's been doing this using his phone, playing his version of the xCloud server. Now, obviously, as he was saying, this is going to be slightly different when we go live, because wherever you are, there's going to be an Azure farm. You know, servers will be local to you, whether you're in the UK, US, etc. But Phil's playing one that's in Seattle, and he's out there in China, Japan, kind of playing it. But he was still saying that it's giving him everything he needs, and he's running strikes, he's running raids, he's doing all of that in Destiny. So that just kind of really made me chuckle. I've said it time and time again, you know, I do enjoy when you kind of sit down and you hear Phil Spencer talk. It's just so interesting. The man just kind of really does just like, but the fact that he was there in a very cool Game Pass bomber jacket, and he was saying that he's playing his own personal xCloud server. There was uber kudos to Mr. Spencer at that point.
You often wonder, like, has he just greenlit these things so he can actually have a game on the go?
Yes.
Most convenient for him at that point.
Yeah, he doesn't want to drag his Xbox One X to Japan to play in the hotel rooms. You imagine him going to the R&D guys going, is there any chance we could spin up a xCloud server so I could test it? You're not going to say no to the boss, are you? You're going to go... They'll go back and they go, right, I've just had to stand up with Phil, and he wants his own xCloud server that they work through the night tirelessly, kind of doing it. But it was quite cool that that's there, and as he said, they're going to talk more about that at E3, with Sony kind of doing that, with Google doing that, you know, their announcement. It's just really interesting to see the xCloud announcement is imminent.
Yes, yeah, it'd be an interesting one with the rumours of new console, with all the new studios. Then, as much as other ones are ducking out, then just watching this one should be feisty, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. And with that, that's about it. I've just looked at the time clock. It's over 2 hours.
I think Nicola and Ali will be just wondering what on earth where we've gone. Where have we gone?
I was thinking, we're probably about an hour. And then I looked and it was just like 2.5 hours. Holy moly. Right. And with that, let's wrap up. Big thank you for listening. James, it's always awesome to pull up a mic with you, sir.
Pleasure, sir, as ever.
And don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamerslostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook. On Twitter, we're at Lost Spark Pod. You can find us on YouTube and also the Gamers Lost Spark PS4 community and Xbox One Club. James, where can people catch up with you?
You can find me on Big Sheep on Twitter and Nintendo and Xbox and PlayStation and what have you. Honestly, don't Anthony's face is a picture. Don't worry, it's Big Sheep 014 on Instagram. So I have a fault. I have a fault.
Are you tracking down Big Sheep?
Day.
Just disliking every post they do.
It's a private account, damn it.
Oh my god, that's just horrible. For me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live and Nintendo Switch, PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network, and Chessman UK on Twitter. Don't forget, if you have any feedback or any questions for us, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamerslostspark.com. That's about it. Say goodbye, James.
Bye-bye.
Bye.